subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Didn't worry about Harry and his friends last night, but slept soundly in her dormitory. Hermione didn't go out at night with them last night. If Harry and his friends encountered a locked door, there would be nothing they could do. I didn't expect that the three-headed dog's room would be unlocked directly. It's locked. Neville, who had been silent, said, I forgot the password to the fat lady's portrait last night, so I fell asleep outside the door of the Gryffindor common room. I was awakened when Harry and the others went out, so I followed them. We went to that room twice to avoid Filch. The first time we went there, the door was locked. When we hid in the room the second time, the door was opened. I saw Professor Snape walking out of the room. Professor Snape? Lin Xiu nodded. That's not surprising. Neville, you remember what happened last night so clearly. Ron was surprised. I think you may not need the forgetting ball sent by your grandmother in the future. Neville sighed. I just remember Professor Snape's things more clearly. I'm a little afraid of him. It's okay, Neville. Your memory will get better and better, Harry said. When I found the three-headed dog last night, I remember that a trapdoor next to the three-headed dog moved and made a loud noise. I guess that monster is guarding the things in the trapdoor. It is probably the thing that the you-know-who wants to find first when he attacks Gringotts. I have to find a way to figure out what that is. Chapter 39. Hermione is upset for a long time. Harry wanted to find out what the three-headed dog was guarding, but he never found a way. As time went by, Harry's curiosity about the secret guarded by the three-headed dog became less and less. One morning in particular, the things delivered by the owl postman completely occupied Harry's heart. When the owls swarmed into the big restaurant, as usual, everyone's attention was attracted by the slender package carried by 6 long-eared owls. Harry and Ron were eager to know what was in the package, and the owls circled in the hall for several times, and finally dropped the package in front of Lin Xiu's table. Harry and Ron were very surprised. Ron, who was born in a wizard family, had seen some things. He widened his eyes. This package, could it be a flying broom in it? Lin Xiu, open it quickly and take a look. Harry also looked at the package in front of Lin Xiu's table expectantly. But before Lin Xiu could open the package, another owl threw a letter. Lin Xiu opened the letter and saw that it said, Don't open the package on the table. It contains your and Harry's new flying brooms, Nimbus 2000 and Crosswind 7. I don't want everyone to know that you have a new broom, lest they all want it. Oliver Wood will wait for you at the Quidditch field at 7 o'clock tonight to give you the first training class. Minerva McGonagall. He subconsciously looked at the professor's seat, and Professor McGonagall was raising her glass and smiling at him. Lin Xiu was a little surprised. In the original book, only Harry got the Nimbus 2000, but he didn't expect that he would also get a share this time. He handed the letter to Harry and Ron to see. Sweeping 7 and Nimbus 2000. Ron exclaimed enviously, I haven't even touched them. Do I have a new broom too? Harry was a little unbelievable. He sat on the table and stretched his neck to look at the ceiling of the auditorium. 6 more owls flew in and dropped another slender package in front of Harry. Ron suggested, We can find a deserted place to unpack before the first class. We should be in time. Lin Xiu shook his head. Class is about to start. Time is tight. But Harry and Ron were so excited that they left the hall in a hurry without even finishing breakfast. Lin Xiu ate his breakfast quietly, and after finishing it, he prepared to go to the first class. As soon as he walked out of the hall and passed through some corridors, he saw Hermione passing by with her mouth pouting and her head down. Lin Xiu called Hermione. Hermione, you don't look very happy. What happened? It's Potter and Weasley. Seeing that it was Lin Xiu, Hermione opened up. When I passed the stairs just now, I heard them smugly mocking Malfoy with a flying broom in their hands. They said that if Malfoy hadn't taken Longbottom's memory ball, allowing Potter to show his flying advantage, Potter wouldn't have gotten the Nimbus 2000 given by Professor McGonagall. I really don't understand. Hermione said a little aggrieved. Why don't Potter and Weasley realize that what they did is against the school rules? Don't they know that breaking the school rules is wrong? The smug tone of Potter and Weasley is like saying that breaking the school rules is glorious, and a Nimbus 2000 is a reward for those who break the school rules. Hermione became more and more angry. Lin Xiu looked at the angry face of the little witch, but found that under Hermione's angry expression, there seemed to be some other emotions. Hermione, you seem confused. Hermione whispered, I don't understand. Why do people take the rules so lightly? In the potions class, I tried so hard to raise my hand, but Professor Snape didn't give me a chance to answer questions. He was always looking for opportunities to give Potter extra points, give Slytherin extra points, and deduct points from other colleges except Slytherin. Potter and Malfoy broke Madame Hooch's rules in the flying class, but they didn't receive any punishment. Even Professor McGonagall bought Potter an expensive flying broom. Students break the rules, and professors do whatever they want. Looking at the little witch's increasingly depressed mood, Lin Xiu sighed. Hermione was born in a Muggle family. When she first entered the magical world, she was more nervous and uneasy besides surprise and curiosity. She is not like Ron Weasley, who comes from a wizard family and is very familiar with the magic world. She is not like Harry Potter, who grew up in the Muggle world, but is a famous boy, and many people in the magic world are kind to him. For Hermione now, the magic world is strange and unknown, apart from the magic and magnificence of all kinds of magic. Unknown things can make people feel scared. So, Hermione can only hold on to the only thing she is familiar with, learning and following the rules. These are the two things she learned in the Muggle world since she was a child, which makes her feel familiar and safe, and makes her feel that there are still some things in her control in the Hogwarts magic world. But what she has seen and felt during this period of time has made Hermione a little confused. The sense of security she firmly believes in has been torn open. It turns out that rules do not have to be followed. Studying hard will not necessarily be rewarded by the teacher, and breaking the rules will not be punished by the professor. Lin Xiu could understand Hermione's feelings. If he didn't have the emotional treasure chest system in the original plot, he would be confused like Hermione. Hermione's current emotional state is obviously unstable. Lin Xiu wanted to comfort Hermione, but he didn't know which angle to start from. Should he tell Hermione that Hogwarts actually encourages students to break the rules? For example, the school prohibits night tours. If Filch catches them, the school will deduct points, but if they are not caught by Filch, it is not a violation at all. Perhaps the school rules of Hogwarts are arranged in this way to improve students' practical ability and let students improve their magic application level in the process of fighting with Filch and school rules. But looking at the little witch's depressed mood, Lin Xiu felt that it was too much to say all this. Hermione is very uneasy and confused now. All the things she has experienced in this period of time, all the accumulated bad emotions, broke out today. Now we shouldn't talk about big principles or right and wrong. The most important thing to do is to comfort Hermione. Lin Xiu patted Hermione on the shoulder and said softly, "It's okay, Hermione. You have been doing well. You are the best little witch in Gryffindor. Those things are not your fault. Don't punish yourself with other people's mistakes. Harry and Ron are two fools. Let them grab the flying broom and have fun." Hermione hesitated and said, "But Professor McGonagall also gave you a flying broom." Lin Xiu said seriously, "Then I'm also a fool." "Ha ha!" Hermione laughed. The confusion in her heart dissipated a little. More importantly, her originally low mood was interrupted by Lin Xiu. Hermione quickly adjusted her mood, looked at Lin Xiu's eyes, gently moved away, stretched out her hand, and shook hands with Lin Xiu. "Thank you for comforting me." It was just like the first day of school on the Hogwarts Express when they first met. That time, it was Lin Xiu who took the initiative to shake hands. And this time it was Hermione who took the initiative to shake hands. Lin Xiu felt that Hermione's palms were full of sweat. Was she too nervous? "Hermione," Lin Xiu said, "we should go to class." "All right." Hermione coughed and pulled her hand away. "I'm not used to shaking hands with you. Let's go to class." She walked forward a few steps, didn't see Lin Xiu catch up, turned around and asked, "What's wrong?" Lin Xiu shook his head. "Nothing. You just saw the system prompt. Ding. Hermione Granger's emotional confusion detected, drawing treasure chest for the host. Congratulations to the host. You won a silver treasure chest. Chapter 40 Quidditch Training, seeing the system prompt. Hermione's heart was in turmoil, and Lin Xiu was also slightly affected. He couldn't concentrate in class. Fortunately, the morning class was Professor Sprout's herbology, and the two plants to be studied were Dictyophora and Devil's Snare, which were not difficult. In addition, he had opened elementary herbology mastery from Professor Sprout's emotional treasure chest before, so it didn't have much impact if he was distracted in class. Does she like me? Lin Xiu's mind was occupied by this philosophical speculation. He didn't get out of this state until he returned to the dormitory after class. System, open the treasure chest. Ding. The silver treasure chest has been opened. Congratulations to the host for obtaining time magic resistance, space-time anchoring. The time converter is a device used for time travel. Before Hogwarts opened in 1993, Hermione got a time converter from the Ministry of Magic to take more classes through time travel. At the end of the school year, Hermione and Harry Potter used it to save Sirius Black and Buckbeak. Time-related magic is extremely unstable, and violating the rules of time may have disastrous consequences. But repeated use of the time converter has made Hermione resistant to the adverse effects of time magic. After using it, you will gain resistance to time magic, and the adverse effects of time magic on you will be minimized. Lin Xiu chose to use it. Suddenly, he felt some mysterious changes in himself. He couldn't tell the specific details, but he could feel that his connection with the whole world became closer, and he became more stable. This feeling made Lin Xiu feel at ease. That's right. Lin Xiu nodded with satisfaction. The most important thing now is to make myself stronger. Of course, he added in his heart. If Hermione really likes me, there is no need to refuse. Not taking the initiative, not refusing. The most important energy now is to focus on making myself stronger and not letting myself be confused by boring lust tricks. After regaining his composure, Lin Xiu's attention naturally fell on the words time magic. Speaking of which, the only thing related to time magic in the original book is the time converter. But the strange thing is that even Voldemort and Dumbledore don't seem to have used magic related to time. Is there any taboo? Lin Xiu decided that when he had knowledge of magic props in the future, he would also find a way to get a time converter to study. After figuring out the principle of the time converter, maybe he could use it to make a magic prop with the function of resurrection on the spot. In this way, he wouldn't have to worry about dying inexplicably in the magic world. Lin Xiu's fantasy was interrupted by two hurried footsteps. Harri and Ron rushed back to the dormitory. Lin Xiu, hurry up, Ron said. I can't wait to see you in Harry's flying brooms. Lin Xiu first unpacked his flying broom. The entire handle of the broom is made of oak, and the twigs at the end of the broom are long, straight, and neat. The words "Sweeping 7 Stars" are printed in gold on the top of the broom handle. Wow, Ron exclaimed. It's worthy of being called Sweeping 7 Stars. It's great. Lin Xiu, flying brooms made of oak are harder and harder to use. With this Sweeping 7 Stars, you will definitely be able to sweep those guys in Slytherin and score hard. Harry's is the Nimbus 2000, which is not much different from Lin Xiu's Sweeping 7 Stars, except that the main body of the broom is made of mahogany, which is more flexible. Harry, the Nimbus 2000 is very suitable for you, Ron commented. The mahogany of a Nimbus 2000 makes the whole broom more flexible, which allows you to turn the direction more quickly during flight, allowing you to catch the golden snitch faster. Soon, 7 o'clock was approaching, and Lin Xiu took Harry out of the castle and walked towards the Quidditch field in the twilight. The entire Quidditch field was large and spacious, with hundreds of broomsticks placed high on the surrounding stands. There were 3 golden poles with rings on top at each end of the field. Before what appeared, Lin Xiu and Harry had already tacitly ridden their flying brooms. Lin Xiu kicked his feet and flew straight into the sky. He flew quickly on the Quidditch field, passing through the goalposts from time to time, flying up and down as he pleased. Harry was also having a lot of fun on the side. Excellent, Wood shouted on the grass of the field. "Come down quickly, both of you." When Lin Xiu landed next to Wood, he saw a large wooden box under his arm. He guessed that it should contain the Quidditch balls for training. Wood looked at Lin Xiu with shining eyes. "Your flying posture is perfect, and your speed is as fast as lightning. You are indeed a genius. No wonder Professor McGonagall thinks so highly of you. I will teach you the rules today, and then you can participate in the team's training 3 times a week." Wood opened the wooden box, and inside were 4 balls of different sizes. He pointed at these balls and explained, "This is the quaffle, this is the bludger, and this is the golden snitch." In general, the rules of Quidditch are very similar to football, but with a wizard-like transformation. The 3 chasers try to score with the quaffle. The goalkeeper guards the goalpost. The beater prevents the bludger from hitting his team members. The golden snitch is the most important of all the balls. A quaffle goal can only get 10 points, but the team that catches the golden snitch can directly get 150 points. Only when the golden snitch is caught, a Quidditch game will end. Of course, there are some additional matters. Wood said, in addition to the golden snitch being caught, the captains of the 2 Quidditch teams can also agree to end a game. The winner of a game is the team with the most points at the end of the game. That's basically it. Let's start training first. Wood took on the role of sparring partner for Lin Xiu and Harri. The training started soon, and Lin Xiu came first. He cast a spell on the quaffle, allowing Lin Xiu to grab and throw the ball in the air, while he himself rode a flying broom to defend. "I'm not bragging, but my goalkeeping skills are currently the best in the entire Hogwarts," Wood said to Lin Xiu. "If you can score a goal with the quaffle under my defense, then you can definitely sweep the entire Hogwarts Quidditch team." "Come on, Lin Xiu, throw the ball to me," Wood said loudly. "Let me see your true strength." Lin Xiu nodded, grabbed the quaffle, and threw it directly at Wood. Wood was ready, but the quaffle thrown by Lin Xiu went through the goal. "Come again." Wood defended tightly, but the quaffle thrown by Lin Xiu went through the goal again. Come again." Wood tried his best, but the quaffle thrown by Lin Xiu went through the goal again. Time and time again, Lin Xiu's pitching made Wood unable to defend. The smile on Wood's face never disappeared. "Your pitch really makes me happy." Wood failed to defend Lin Xiu's pitch again, but was obviously very happy. "Our names will definitely be engraved on this year's Quidditch Cup. Next, Harri, I will train you to find the golden snitch." Lin Xiu's quaffle pitching training has been completed. He is standing on the grass of the court to rest, watching Wood holding a white golf ball in the air to simulate the golden snitch to train Harri. He then noticed that the system had just popped up a prompt. Ding! Oliver Wood's joy is detected. Drawing a treasure chest for the host. Congratulations to the host for getting a silver treasure chest. Lin Xiu found a corner where no one noticed and chose to open it directly. Ding! The silver treasure chest has been opened. Congratulations to the host for getting intermediate Quidditch expertise, primary Quidditch expertise. Almost all wizards in the world love Quidditch, a broomstick sport. Since the 5th grade, Oliver has become the captain of the Gryffindor Quidditch team. After graduation, he successfully became a member of the Puddlemere United Reserve team. He has extremely superb Quidditch skills. After using it, you will have extremely strong Quidditch skills. You will fully understand the rules of Quidditch games. You will understand all Quidditch game tactics, and you will hardly be penalized. Lin Xiu chose to use it, and suddenly felt that all kinds of Quidditch rules and details appeared in his mind, as if he was already a veteran who had fought in the Quidditch arena for many years. Not bad. Lin Xiu was looking forward to the day of the Quidditch game. According to Wood, this year's Quidditch game at Hogwarts will start in November. Time passed day by day. Lin Xiu gradually adapted to life in Hogwarts. Various courses every day, Quidditch training 3 nights a week, which made him very fulfilled. In addition, during this period of time, he was also constantly familiar with the various things and skills he opened from the emotional treasure chest. In the past 2 months, Lin Xiu gradually became familiar with Harry, Ron, and others, and his relationship with Hermione gradually became better. During this period of time, he felt that life in Hogwarts was more and more interesting. Herbology, charms, transfiguration, flying class, magic theory class. These courses are very interesting. and Lin Xiu can constantly verify and strengthen his various abilities in these courses. Potions are also very interesting. Of course, the most interesting thing is Professor Snape's preference for the girl Harri. For some reason, Harri would automatically turn into a girl when it came to potions class. Harri secretly complained to Lin Xiu and Ron that he suspected that there was something wrong with the potion Snape gave him. But this also ensured that Harri would basically not turn into a girl in other places other than potions class. So this matter was acceptable to Harri. The most interesting one was the defense against the dark arts class. Professor Quirrell did not come to class for a whole month. Everyone said that he was cursed by Snape or that Snape had used some poisonous potion. Many students had a simple sympathy for poor Professor Quirrell. But when Professor Quirrell recovered and continued to teach the defense against the dark arts class, this sympathy disappeared. The little wizards of the 4 colleges were surprised to find that Quirrell's defense against the dark arts class was a complete joke. The classroom where Quirrell taught was full of garlic smell, and Quirrell himself liked to tell stories about himself, the resurrected zombies in Africa, and the Romanian vampires in this garlic atmosphere. But when Lin Xiu asked for more details, or wanted to know the relevant spells that needed to be mastered in defense against the dark arts, Professor Quirrell's face flushed, he was vague, and changed the subject to talk about the weather. The young wizards of the 4 colleges were disappointed to find that Quirrell was an absolute idiot in defense against the dark arts. Hermione complained to Lin Xiu that Quirrell's defense against the dark arts class was better off not taking it. During the days when Quirrell was away, the defense against the dark arts class was basically used for self-study. Hermione read a lot of books during this time, and she learned more in self-study classes than Quirrell's hesitant words. Lin Xiu was also a little disappointed. He took the initiative to ask Quirrell questions in the defense against the dark arts class, mainly to get the emotional treasure chest from Quirrell. After all, Quirrell was living in Voldemort, and maybe he could get something good. But unfortunately, Quirrell was panicked on the surface, and his face flushed at every turn. But he didn't actually have much emotional fluctuations, and the emotional treasure chest system didn't react at all. Lin Xiu could only sigh. Voldemort is worthy of being the Dark Lord. He has a strong heart. He didn't even drop a treasure chest. This peaceful period lasted until Halloween. On the morning of Halloween, Hogwarts was filled with the sweet and tempting smell of roasted pumpkin. The class of the day was the Charms class. As soon as the class started, Professor Flitwick announced something. I think it's time to start teaching you something new. For example, the levitation charm. Chapter 41 Levitation spell. Several spell classes ago, Professor Flitwick showed the young wizards the various spells they would learn in the 1st grade. Fire spell, unlocking spell, cutting spell. When Professor Flitwick used the levitation spell to make Neville's pet toad fly everywhere, almost all the young wizards were eager to learn and try the levitation spell. Today is the day when the young wizards officially learn the levitation spell. Professor Flitwick divided the whole class into groups of 2 and started training. Hermione and Lin Xiu worked together, Harri and Ron, and Neville worked with the explosive genius Seamus, as always. Standing on a stool piled high by books, Professor Flitwick said in a sharp voice, "One of the basic skills of wizards is to float into the air or make objects fly." Did everyone get the feather? Most of the young wizards looked at it blankly, and Hermione, who was sitting next to Lin Xiu, responded very actively. She picked up the feather on her desk and signaled to Professor Flitwick. "Very good." Professor Flitwick nodded at Hermione. "Don't forget the subtle hand movements we have been training. 1 wave, then 1 shake. Remember, 1 wave and 1 shake. Everyone try it." The little wizards waved their wands following Professor Flitwick's movements. Their movements were gentle and graceful. Lin Xiu nodded silently. Although Professor Flitwick was not tall, he really had something. Waving the wand in his way, the movement amplitude was very small, so the casting speed would be much faster. "Very good." Professor Flitwick smiled and said, "By the way, the spell must be read clearly, otherwise there may be unexpected results. Don't forget the wizard Baruffio. He said F as is and was crushed by a bison that suddenly appeared and lost half his life. The spell is Wingardium Leviosa. Everyone try it." The feathers beside Professor Flitwick floated in the air and turned a few circles, which made many little wizards eager to try it. Everyone saw Professor Flitwick casting spells with ease, but when they tried it themselves, they found that it was not easy at all. Neville and Seamus waved and shook the feather, waved and shook it again and again. But the feather still had no reaction. Seamus was so angry that he directly threw his wand at the feather, shouting spells, with a momentum of dying together. Suddenly, with a boom, an explosion occurred on Seamus's table. The sound was so loud that it sounded like a thunderbolt out of thin air. Professor Flitwick almost fell off the book, while Neville had already dropped his wand and hid under the table in fear. All the little wizards looked over. Hermione was stunned. It's just a levitation spell, this level of explosion. How'd you do it? Lin Xiu couldn't help but sigh. This Seamus is really a genius of explosion. Any spell cast by him will eventually present an unparalleled explosion effect. Mr. Longbottom, Professor Flitwick said, "Please send Mr. Finnegan to see Madame Pomfrey." Neville prepared himself for a while before coming out from under the table and walked towards Madame Pomfrey, the school nurse, with Seamus, whose face was blackened by the explosion. Looking at Neville and Seamus walking out of the classroom, Professor Flitwick questioned his teaching level for the first time. He taught spells at Hogwarts for so many years. When teaching spells, it is normal for most people to fail to cast spells smoothly, and occasionally one or two geniuses will pop up who can cast spells successfully in one go. But he had never seen Seamus in such a situation. It was clearly a levitation spell. So how come the power of the little wizard Seamus Finnegan was greater than that of an ordinary explosion spell? But no matter what, the spell class had to continue. Okay, everyone, Mr. Finnegan will be fine. Let's continue to try the levitation spell. The little wizards in the classroom listened to Professor Flitwick and continued to try. But it was obvious that after seeing the huge explosion caused by Seamus, everyone's enthusiasm for trying was inevitably dampened a lot, which could be seen from the voices of everyone saying the spell. Everyone's voice was several degrees lower, for fear that they would also cause a big explosion like Seamus. Of course, there was one exception. That was Ron. Ron and Harri were in a group, and both of them failed in their attempts at the levitation spell. Harri just kept repeating the spell and casting the spell, hoping to hit the good luck and cast the spell successfully. And Ron became more and more irritable. "Wingardium Leviosa," Ron shouted, holding the wand tightly and waving his arms like a windmill. But the feather still did not respond. Hermione, who was sitting next to Lin Xiu, saw this scene and couldn't help but want to correct him. "You?" But Lin Xiu stopped him. Hermione whispered to Lin Xiu, "Lin Xiu, why did you stop me?" Weasley was just waving his wand around like a stick. "Hermione," Lin Xiu said, "if someone suddenly accused you of doing something wrong, how would you react?" "I would be very angry." Hermione came to her senses, "but I wouldn't blame Weasley," Lin Xiu said. "In the charms class, with so many people watching, if you rashly correct Weasley, the consequences will be no different from if you blame him in public. People don't like to be denied." "Okay." Hermione nodded. "Lin Xiu, I believe what you said. But watching Weasley waving spells randomly, it's really uncomfortable to watch." "Then look at me." Lin Xiu smiled and waved his wand lightly. "Wingardium Leviosa." The feathers on Lin Xiu's desk seemed to have suddenly gained the ability to fly, floating up lightly, and finally stopped 4 feet above his and Hermione's heads. "Great!" Professor Flitwick dispelled the psychological shadow caused by Seamus's explosion and said happily, "Look, everyone, Mr. Lin Xiu succeeded." Lin Xiu immediately became the focus of the whole audience, and the eyes of other young wizards were full of surprise and envy. Originally, everyone was a salted fish who couldn't make the feather float. But you secretly surprised everyone? Lin Xiu's wand-waving technique is also very beautiful. Professor Flitwick said without hesitation, "Gryffindor adds 5 points for this floating spell." Lin Xiu heard the system prompt. Ding! Phileas Flitwick's joyful mood is detected. Drawing a treasure chest for the host. Congratulations to the host. You won a silver treasure chest. He was in a good mood. Professor Flitwick was a wizard duel champion when he was young, and the treasure chest he dropped must have something good. I could do it too. Seeing Lin Xiu successfully cast the levitation spell, Hermione cast a spell on the feather on her desk without hesitation, and then another feather floated up and entangled with Lin Xiu's floating feather. The two feathers did not fly around, and they touched just right, just like two robins flying together. Professor Flitwick said, because of Miss Granger's levitation spell, Gryffindor will get another 3 points. Professor Flitwick breathed a sigh of relief. Not bad. Judging from a performance of Mr. Lin Xiu and Miss Granger, there was no problem with Professor Flitwick's spell, but the problem was that little wizard Seamus Finnegan. Hearing Professor Flitwick's words, Hermione blushed a little. She was used to being praised by the professor. She blushed because of the robin. The robin is a common bird in England. It is the national bird of England and a symbol of kindness and culture. In addition, the robin also symbolizes love. Flitwick was inspired by the success of Lin Xiu and Hermione. He took advantage of the opportunity and said, to show my encouragement to Mr. Lin Xiu and Miss Granger for their success, I have decided to exempt them from 2 weeks of charms homework. In addition, if anyone can make the feathers continue to float in this class, I can exempt you from the charms homework for the next week. The little wizards were excited and devoted themselves to the effort to make the feathers float with unprecedented enthusiasm. Among them, Ron was the most hardworking. Wingardium Leviosa, he shouted very vigorously. Ron's movements when casting spells became more and more exaggerated. He was no longer satisfied with one hand, but used 2 hands alternately to use the wand, as if 2 big windmills were spinning rapidly. Ron, why don't you go slower? Harri was a little worried that Ron would create an explosion like Seamus did. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work. I don't want to do my homework. Ron was holding back his anger. After adjusting his spell several times, he somehow sensed that his next spell would be successful. I will definitely be able to float successfully this time. So he suddenly jumped up from his seat, shouted loudly, and called out the spell, Wingardium Leviosa. In the horrified eyes of all the little wizards, Professor Flitwick, who was not very tall, floated up and floated to the ceiling, hitting his head with dust. Without seeing Professor Flitwick make any move, Ron's wand suddenly fell on the table, and Professor Flitwick landed easily with an elegant posture. Mr. Weasley, you succeeded in casting the spell to some extent. Professor Flitwick sighed. Therefore, I have decided to exempt you from the charms homework this week. But before Ron could be happy, Professor Flitwick continued, but your random spell hurt me by mistake, so I think you should leave some profound lessons. Please copy, I am a wizard, not a baboon waving a stick 1,000 times, and give it to me in the next class. Ron was in tears. He was punished to copy, which was more words than the simple spell's homework. I should have known not to work so hard. Tomorrow is Halloween. The school notified that there will be a sumptuous dinner today. Many activities, including Quidditch training, are suspended today. Harri and Ron want to play somewhere, while Lin Xiu stayed in the dormitory and opened the treasure chest that dropped today. Ding! The silver treasure chest has been opened. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Cursed Sense. Cursed Sense. Wizard Duel is a formal contest between 2 or more people in wizard culture. In this process, wizards can use various magic to compete with opponents, which is a great test of the wizard's mastery of spells. It is rumored that Professor Phileas Flitwick once won the Wizard Duel Championship when he was young. People speculated that his short stature gave him some advantages, and perhaps his blood contained some kind of induction to spells, which allowed Flitwick to quickly sense the opponent's spells and make subconscious actions. After using it, your reaction will be more agile. When you are attacked by the enemy maliciously, you will subconsciously avoid the evil spell and make an effective counterattack. With the induction of evil spells, when attacked suddenly, Lin Xiu can also have a certain reaction, which greatly enhances his combat effectiveness and safety. So he chose to use it without hesitation. After adapting to the changes in his body, it was almost night. Lin Xiu arrived at the hall and found that the whole hall was decorated with colorful colors. 1,000 bats fluttered on the walls and ceiling, and another 1,000 like low dark clouds hovered above the dining table, causing the candle flame in the pumpkin belly to flicker. Delicious food suddenly appeared on a golden plate, just like at the banquet at the beginning of the school year. After he went to the table, he found no trace of Hermione. Lin Xiu asked Ron, who was busy chewing chicken drumsticks beside him, but didn't get any useful information. Finally, it was Harri who suggested asking Hermione's roommates, Patil and Lavender. Patil was a black-haired Indian girl. After hearing what Lin Xiu said, she thought for a while and said, "Hermione? She seems to be preparing something like trick or treat, probably some kind of activity for muggles on Halloween. She seems to have stayed in the women's bathroom for an afternoon, and I didn't see her in the dormitory." Women's bathroom? Lin Xiu couldn't stay calm. On Halloween Eve, in the women's bathroom, Quirrell will release a giant monster. It's dangerous outside now. Lin Xiu stood up suddenly and rushed out of the auditorium. When passing by Ron and Harri, Harri looked over and Ron raised a chicken drumstick. "What's wrong, Lin Xiu?" Ron asked. "The chicken drumsticks are delicious tonight. Don't you want to?" But Lin Xiu had disappeared in the corridor. Chapter 42, Fighting the Giant Monster. Hermione's favorite Lin Xiu walked through the empty side corridor and hurried to the women's bathroom. It was quiet all around. Nothing unusual happened. Lin Xiu breathed a sigh of relief. He ran out early, and it was estimated that the trolls released by Quirrell had not yet arrived here. He knocked on the door of the women's bathroom. "Hermione, are you in there?" There was a ping-pong sound from the door, and Hermione stuttered. Lin Xiu, why are you here?" "I didn't see you in the hall, so I came out to find you." There was silence inside the door for a while, and soon, the bathroom door was opened and Hermione came out. At this time, she was wearing a small pointed witch hat on her head. Half of her face was painted with cat whiskers, and the other half of her face was not made up. Hermione looked like she wanted to dress up as a cat girl, but it was obvious that she had not yet finished dressing up. "I wanted to come find you after I finished dressing up," Hermione sighed. "But now you've seen me in advance. Anyway, Lin Xiu, I wish you a happy Halloween." "Thank you. I wish you a happy Halloween too. Let's go to hall." Hermione shook her head. Many people in the hall are from wizard families. The way they celebrate Halloween is different from us muggle children. I will be laughed at by them if I go there like this. I asked Nick, who was almost headless, and those ghosts said that it is not necessary to attend the pre-Halloween dinner. I want to go back to the dormitory. Then I'll go back to the dormitory with you. Okay. Hermione and Lin Xiu walked side by side, and no one spoke for a while. When they turned a corner, Hermione suddenly said, "Lin Xiu, do you know the origin of Halloween?" Lin Xiu shook his head. "I read it in a book," Hermione said briskly. "There's a saying that Halloween comes from the ancient Celtic tradition of Samhain. On that day, they would dress up as ghosts to lead away the wandering ghosts. In addition, they would collect food from door to worship the gods. They believe that this will make people more closely connected. Finally, the Celtic customs developed into our modern times and became today's Halloween and trick or treat. I'm already dressed as a witch, Lin Xiu, trick or treat." Hermione stretched out a hand to Lin Xiu. There were quite a few candies on the table in the hall, but when Lin Xiu rushed out of the hall to find Hermione, how could he take care of grabbing 2 handfuls of candies and putting them on his body? Looking at Hermione's outstretched hand, Lin Xiu also stretched out his hand and shook it gently. "Well, this is not bad. The weather's a bit hot, isn't it?" Hermione's face was flushed. "I feel a little hot on my face." She turned slightly to the side and fanned her face with her hand. "I changed my mind. I want to go back first. Lin Xiu, good night." Hermione ran forward a few steps. At this time, a foul smell came from the front. It was the smell of fermented socks that had not been washed for 3 months and the smell of a toilet that no one cleaned. Just smelling it made people squint their eyes involuntarily. This smell is eye-irritating. Immediately afterwards, a huge shadow appeared on the wall at the corner in front, accompanied by a low grumble and the sound of huge feet dragging on the ground. The shadow was getting closer and closer, and finally, a huge monster appeared at the end of the left passage in front. It looked nearly 3 meters tall, with dull skin as gray as granite, and a huge and stupid body like a pile of huge gravel, with a small head like a cocoa bean on it. The monster held a huge wooden stick in his hand, but because its arm was very long, the stick was dragged on the ground, which made a harsh sound when walking. "It's a troll," Hermione's face turned pale. She had read about this monster in a book. They are brutal, powerful, and very dangerous. Hermione, run to me, Lin Xiu shouted at Hermione, but Hermione was so frightened that she couldn't move. At this time, the troll noticed Hermione, and it roared, raised its stick, and smashed it at Hermione. Lin Xiu's inhuman constitution came into play at this time. He rushed over, picked up Hermione by the waist, and turned around to run. Before the troll's stick came down, Lin Xiu had already carried Hermione to a safe place. Then he drew out his wand and recited the only offensive spell he had mastered so far. Bat bogey hexes bats in a flock. This is the bat spell from Ginny's emotional treasure chest. Its only function is to turn the enemy's boogers into bats, which hinders the enemy. Suddenly, a huge amount of black gas gushed out from the two nostrils of the troll's little head, turning into black bats that stuck to its face. The troll roared in pain, twisted its body wildly, and bumped around everywhere, shaking off a lot of bricks around it. But gradually, its struggle became weaker and weaker, as if it was drunk and dizzy, and finally it fell down with a bang. "Is it dead?" Hermione asked. "It shouldn't be," Lin Xiu said. He guessed that the troll was blocked by the bats, transformed from boogers, suffocating and comatose. If the suffocation time was longer, it would probably suffocate the troll to death. But at this time, Ron and Harry appeared at the end of the corridor. "Lin Xiu, Hermione, run. There's a troll." When they saw the troll behind Lin Xiu and Hermione, they hesitated for a moment and rushed over directly. "I'll help you." Ron swung his hand around, swung his wand, and shouted the spell he had just memorized in the spell class today. Wingardium Leviosa. When using the levitation charm, the wand should not have any obvious reaction. But after Ron shouted the levitation charm, his broken wand sprayed white light from the middle, and Ron's whole body bounced up and down the corridor like a pinball, bouncing around and couldn't stop at all. Harry turned into a red-haired girl. When he was about to take the wand, he couldn't help but put it back. A bat-like figure floated past him. "Harry, put away your wand." Snape's voice floated past. He didn't even pull out his wand, but just glanced at Ron, who was bouncing around. Ron's flying tendency stopped, and he landed safely. "Go back to the dormitory, and don't come out tonight." Snape's voice was filled with suppressed anger. He waved his sleeves, and Lin Xiu, Hermione, and the others floated up involuntarily. When they came to their senses, they were already standing on the 8th floor where the Gryffindor common room was located. The few people looked at each other in silence. Was Professor Snape angry just now? Ron said cautiously. "He looked so scary just now." "He's not angry with us," Harry said. "After all, he didn't deduct point from our Gryffindor today." "Harry, when you turned into a girl in the past, Professor Snape always tried to give you extra points. Although he didn't deduct points from Gryffindor today, he didn't give you extra points either. This is enough to show the seriousness." "I think someone will be unlucky tonight," Ron said gloatingly, "but it has nothing to do with us." Hermione followed behind Lin Xiu in silence. Lin Xiu looked at Harry and Ron. "Harry, how come you and Ron are here?" Harry said. "Lin Xiu, not long after you left the hall, Professor Quirrell suddenly rushed in and said that a troll appeared in the underground classroom. The whole hall was in chaos. Finally, Dumbledore decided to change tonight's Halloween dinner to be held in the lounges of various colleges. But Harry and I thought that you left early and might not know the news, so we came out to find you." Ron said. Professor Snape followed Harry after seeing him become a girl. They came to the portrait of the fat lady. Pig nose. After giving the command, everyone went in. The Gryffindor lounge was crowded with people, and it was very lively everywhere. Everyone was eating the food on the plate. Hermione stopped Lin Xiu and the others in the corridor. "Thank you." Harry and Ron waved their hands, rushed to their plates, and ate the fragrant chicken legs. When no one was paying attention, Hermione mustered up her courage and gently hugged Lin Xiu. "Thank you." Without waiting for Lin Xiu to say anything, Hermione turned around and returned to her dormitory and did not come out again that night. But since then, they have become real friends. Of course, Hermione and Lin Xiu are closer. After two people have experienced something together and overcome difficulties, it is hard for them not to have a good impression of each other. For Hermione, Lin Xiu saved her from a giant monster over 4 meters high, which is such an event. Chapter 43 Snape's face is beaming. It was still warm on Halloween, but the temperature dropped sharply as soon as November arrived. The whole Hogwarts was covered with a layer of white snow, and the lake was frozen. Little wizards often went to the ice to skate. Every morning, Lin Xiu could see Hagrid from the upstairs window. He wore a long moleskin coat and rabbit fur gloves, defrosting the flying broom on the Quidditch field. The Quidditch season has begun. After a long training, Lin Xiu and Harri are going to officially participate in their first Quidditch game. They will represent Gryffindor against Slytherin. Captain Wood said that if Gryffindor wins this Quidditch game, they will surpass Slytherin in the College Cup and rise to first place. Of course, Slytherin is still first in the current College Cup points, because Snape will give crazy points to the girl Harri while crazy points to other Gryffindors, which forms a delicate dynamic balance. When Snape deducted points from her at first, Hermione was a little depressed, but she gradually got used to it. Since the troll incident, Hermione no longer cares about violating school rules and being deducted points by Snape. But as long as there is a chance, she will still try her best to help Gryffindor score. Therefore, she found the origin of Quidditch to help Lin Xiu avoid risks as much as possible in the upcoming game. Lin Xiu, you have to pay attention to safety. There are many ways to commit fouls in Quidditch games, and the Slytherin group will definitely target you. Hermione was a little nervous. Promise me, give priority to your own safety, okay? Lin Xiu nodded. Sometime before the Quidditch game officially started, several things happened, the most notable of which was that Quirrell, the professor of defense against the dark arts, asked for leave again. The Weasley twins said mysteriously, "Snape must have done it again this time." The night before Halloween, when we were touring Hogwarts at night, we saw Snape running to Quirrell's office. The next day, Quirrell was injured and asked for leave to recuperate. Lin Xiu and Harri looked at each other and immediately remembered the angry Snape that night. Ron waited until the Weasley twins left before speaking. I guess that night, Professor Snape was angry because he saw the girl Harri wandering around Hogwarts at night, just because he didn't want to punish the girl Harri, so he was very angry. Professor Snape must have wanted to vent his anger that night, but Professor Quirrell was unlucky. Ron said gloatingly, "Poor Quirrell." The day before the Quidditch game, when the Gryffindor Quidditch team was training, the captain would suddenly announce a big news. Snape will be the referee for the first game between Gryffindor and Slytherin. George Weasley fell off his broom after hearing this. Snape is the referee? He spat out the dirt in his mouth. When has he ever been the referee of a Quidditch match? We are playing against Slytherin. Snape will definitely not make a fair judgment. Except for Lin Xiu and Harri. The other players complained. "Don't worry," Wood said confidently. "Harri is our secret weapon. I have figured out. As long as Harri becomes a girl on the day of the game, Snape will not find fault with us. Since Harry's state of becoming a girl is not stable, just in case, I got a bottle of potion early, which can make Harri become a girl on the day of the Quidditch match. We will win against Slytherin this time." The Quidditch match officially began. The weather on this day was very good. Although it was a bit cold, it was generally sunny. A lot of snow on the Quidditch field melted, which was very suitable for the game. In the auditorium, the tables of each college were filled with delicious food. Everyone was looking forward to a wonderful Quidditch game and chatting happily. In another hour, the game will officially begin. Harri didn't feel good. He was a little nervous and couldn't even eat breakfast. He looked at Lin Xiu with envy. "Lin Xiu, our first Quidditch game is about to start. How do you keep yourself from being nervous?" "Keep calm, Harri," Lin Xiu said as he ate a few bites of toast and grilled sausages prepared by Hermione. "Just show your strength. There's nothing to be nervous about." Lin Xiu didn't feel nervous. He didn't feel any anxiety while eating the breakfast prepared by Hermione. "Harri, you have to eat a few bites of breakfast," Ron said, adding a few shiny chicken legs to Harry's plate. Harri sighed. "I don't want to eat anything." "Harri, you need to keep your strength up," Neville said. "Have some toast." "Thank you, Neville," Harri said. "But I'm not very hungry now." "Harri, you don't have to worry or be nervous at all." Ron finished the chicken leg on the plate and sighed with satisfaction. "The referee this time is Coach Snape. As long as you turn into a girl, He will definitely favor you. Ron's words made Harry relax a lot to some extent, and Harry was finally able to eat something. At 11 o'clock in the morning, it seemed that everyone in Hogwarts came to the stands around the Quidditch field. To cheer up Lin Xiu and Harry, Ron joined Neville and Seamus's fans. They used a bedsheet that was stained by mice to draw a huge banner with the words Lin Xiu must win and Potter must win. There was also a big Gryffindor lion painted on it, and then Hermione cast a clever magic to make Lin Xiu's name on the banner flash in different colors. In a locker room, Lin Xiu and Harry changed into bright red Quidditch uniforms. Wood looked at Harry with satisfaction as he had turned into a girl. Everyone, it's time. Our team is the best Gryffindor has had in so many years. We will win. Time's up. Good luck to everyone. The group walked out of the locker room and headed for the cheering stadium. Professor Snape was the referee. He stood in the middle of the stadium, holding a flying broom in his hand, waiting for the players from both sides. I hope to see fairness and honesty in this game. When Snape said this, he kept staring at the captain of the Slytherin team, Marcus Flint, a sixth-year student. Yes, Professor. Marcus lowered his head. Marcus was tall, and Harry couldn't help but think of the troll he saw the night before Halloween. Harry saw the banner flying high in the direction of Gryffindor from the corner of his eye, and his heart was suddenly filled with courage. Lin Xiu, look at that, whispered to Lin Xiu in front of him. Lin Xiu will win. Your name is still shining. It must be the spell cast by Hermione. Lin Xiu looked over and saw Hermione waving at him, and he also waved at Hermione with a smile. Please ride on your brooms. Everyone sat on the brooms and waited for the kickoff. But Professor Snape looked at Harry first. This is your first Quidditch game, Harry. Snape said, I promise that this game will be absolutely fair and just. Thank you, Professor Snape. Harry said. The wind blew on the court, and Harry's sight was blocked by his red hair, so he tied his hair up. You're welcome, Snape said with a smile. Enjoy the game. The Gryffindor players were at most a little surprised, while the Slytherin players were a little scared. Professor Snape hasn't laughed so happily for many years, and his face was flushed. Everyone in Slytherin was secretly alert. In this game, absolutely do not mess with Gryffindor's seeker Harry Potter. When the opening silver whistle blew, 15 flying brooms rose from the ground, and the game began. Chapter 44. What? Professor Snape is warming up? The commentator for this game is Lee Jordan, a friend of the Weasley twins. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first Quidditch game of the season at Hogwarts. Today's two teams are Gryffindor and Slytherin. Both players take their positions, and Professor Snape enters the field to kick off. Oh, he kicks the ball with his wand. The bludger takes off, followed by the golden snitch. I have to emphasize to you that the quaffle is only worth 10 points, but the snitch is worth 150 points. The game ends when the seeker finds the snitch. The quaffle was flicked away by Professor Snape's wand, but how did it fly directly to the Slytherin team? This is a clear bias. Anyway, the game officially begins. Lin Xiu relied on the intermediate flying talent, intermediate Quidditch expertise, and primary and human constitution that he opened from the emotional treasure box. At this moment, he was like a fish in water on the 897 Quidditch field. At the moment of the kickoff, he rushed out and grabbed the quaffle before the Slytherin people could react. Even if the referee is biased towards Slytherin, the quaffle was grabbed by Gryffindor's chaser, Lin Xiu. I have to say, our Gryffindor chasers are amazing. I think it's no problem to defeat Slytherin today. Professor. Under the close supervision of Professor McGonagall, Lee Jordan was quiet for a while. Gryffindor's chaser Lin Xiu went straight to Slytherin's goal. Many Slytherin players tried to stop him, but it was useless. Lin Xiu was like a flash of lightning, passing people and passing people. All the Slytherin players who came to defend were rushed over by him. Slytherin's goalkeeper swooped over and tried to stop Lin Xiu failed. Lin Xiu's throw the ball went in. Beautiful. Gryffindor scored. Let's remember the first goal scorer of this game. He is Gryffindor's chaser, Lin Xiu. Lin Xiu. Lin Xiu. Lin Xiu. Gryffindor students cheered Lin Xiu's name, mixed with the roars and sighs of Slytherins. Restart. Gryffindor gets the ball. Merlin's beard. Lin Xiu got the ball again. He's awesome. Lin Xiu easily dodged the bludger from Slytherin. The ball went in again. In the blink of an eye, Lin Xiu broke through Slytherin's encirclement and scored another goal. Gryffindor continues to score. Lin Xiu scored 5 goals. He's unstoppable. The game continues. Slytherin's players seem to realize who the real threat is on the court. They're consciously trying to block Lin Xiu. Wait, I saw Slytherin's captain Flint bump into Lin Xiu. Although the Slytherin was knocked away by Lin Xiu and Flint rolled in the air, it is obvious that this is a violation. The referee should announce a penalty. Referee. Where is the referee? Lee Jordan looked in the direction of Snape, and after seeing that the other party did not say a word, he wisely decided not to continue to dwell on this topic. It seems that our referee, Professor Snape, does not think that it was a violation just now. Okay, the game continues. Simply, even if Slytherin's violation is obvious and despicable, Lin Xiu is not affected at all. He is still scoring goals. Bonus points, bonus points. Gryffindor bonus points. Lin Xiu is still scoring goals. Amid the thunderous cheers of many young wizards in Gryffindor, Lee Jordan announced excitedly, I can't count how many times Lin Xiu has dodged Slytherin's attacks. Slytherin obviously has no way to deal with Lin Xiu. They tried to use all kinds of legal tactics, but they didn't work for Lin Xiu. The entire stadium, except for the Slytherin Square, was cheering for Lin Xiu. Lin Xiu, Lin Xiu, Lin Xiu. Lee Jordan was also infected by this enthusiasm and said excitedly, Lin Xiu has scored 16 goals for Gryffindor, which means that Gryffindor has scored a full 160 points. On the other hand, Slytherin didn't score a goal. As long as we find the golden snitch, this game will be over and Gryffindor's victory will be a foregone conclusion. Wait, was that the golden snitch just now? Almost everyone's attention was attracted, and Harri, who had been waiting in the air, took action immediately. Harri's red hair was flying in the female form, and he seemed to have turned into a red lightning, crossing most of the Quidditch field in an instant. Lee Jordan shouted, Great! It looks like Gryffindor's seeker Harri has found the golden snitch. As long as he catches the golden snitch, Gryffindor will win this game. I have to say, Harri is an extremely good seeker. He looks very charming when he is a girl, with that red hair. Lee Jordan was halfway through his words when he saw Snape's murderous cold eyes, and he was so scared that he quickly changed his words. Let's look at the golden snitch in the distance, classmates. Harri was inspired by Lin Xiu's crazy goal, and the whole person was mobilized. He only had the golden snitch in his eyes, and he was running fast. Just when he was concentrating on chasing the golden snitch, his flying broom suddenly shook frighteningly. In that instant, Harri almost felt that he was about to fall. He could only hold the broom tightly with both hands and clamp it tightly with his knees. Harri tried to fly to the goalpost of the Gryffindor team. He wanted Captain Wood to stop the game, but there was no way. He had completely lost control of his flying broom, and the broom was not very expensive. The flying broom turned left and right in the air, shaking violently from time to time, and almost threw Harri off it. Lin Xiu's extraordinary performance almost made the whole audience focus on him. But Lin Xiu suddenly felt uncomfortable, as if someone was maliciously trying to cast a curse on him. He subconsciously lay on the broom, broke through left and right with a difficult move, and flew very far, until the malicious induction disappeared and he recovered. Lin Xiu realized belatedly that it was his evil curse induction that worked. Following the prompt of evil curse sense, he looked in one direction. In the stands, Quirrell, wearing a purple turban and leaning on a cane, was staring at Harri flying in the air, his eyes full of malice. Harri in the air was struggling to maintain his balance, trying not to fall. Lin Xiu immediately realized that it was Quirrell possessed by Voldemort, who was trying to murder Harri. But most people were paying attention to Lin Xiu's crazy goal, and almost no one was paying attention to Harri in the air. Of course, as the commentator of this game, Tuzedin always focused part of his energy on Harri. Before Lin Xiu was about to leave to save Harri, Lee Jordan had already noticed what was happening to Harri. Dear audience, something seems to have happened to Harry Potter, the 3.4 Gryffindor Seeker. Lee Jordan said loudly, This is Gryffindor. Is it the hidden tactics of the Landfonder team? Or is there something wrong with his flying broom? Harry's flying broom suddenly began to turn and spin, and Harry was almost thrown off. He could only hold the broom handle with one hand and hang in the air. Just as Harry was about to be thrown off, Lin Xiu was about to rush over to catch Harry, but someone rushed into the air faster than him. Merlin's beard. The commentator Lee Jordan shouted, "Dear audience, Professor Snape actually came out in person. Is he the hidden trump card of the Slytherin team?" Professor Snape is warming up in the air, and his warm-up action is actually the difficult eagle-shaped circle flight. Although Professor Snape's flying action is very good, I still have to ask. The referee has left the field. Is there no one to take care of this kind of thing? Chapter 45. Wait. Why is there a green light coming out of Snape? Snape rode on a flying broom and rushed to Harry in midair. As a Death Eater who was proficient in dark magic, Snape judged at a glance that Harry's current dangerous situation was entirely because someone was casting a curse in the dark. Snape used a silent counter-curse, and Harry's tendency to fly around in midair stopped. But after Harry became a girl, not only his appearance changed, but his physical fitness also changed. The girl Harry was more petite and weaker. Therefore, when Snape stopped the curse attack of the unknown enemy, the girl Harry also lost his strength, and his hands loosened, and he fell straight to the ground. The moment Snape saw the girl Harry's long red hair flying in the air, his brain was absent, and he almost forgot that he was a wizard. Lily. He tried to reach out to grab Harry, but missed. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Snape still pulled out his wand in time, allowing Harry to float steadily to the ground, resolving the crisis Harry encountered. Thank goodness. Commentator Lee Jordan breathed a sigh of relief. Although Professor Snape always looks for opportunities to deduct points from our Gryffindor, he finally did a good thing this time. 24. Harry Potter was saved by Professor Snape, so the game continues. Wait, there is an emergency, Lee Jordan said in shock. The rostrum has just received news from Slytherin. The Slytherin team voluntarily decided to end this Quidditch game under the friendly advice of Professor Snape. According to the rules of the game, when the two teams negotiate, the team with more points at the end of the game wins the game. In this game, Gryffindor's new chaser Lin Xiu scored a lot of goals, bringing Gryffindor a full 160 points. Lee Jordan happily shouted out the result of the game. With Lin Xiu's wonderful performance, Slytherin was shut out, and Gryffindor won with 160 points to 0. Let's thank Lin Xiu. Lin Xiu. Lin Xiu. Lin Xiu. Except for the Slytherin spectators who looked grim, almost everyone was shouting the name of Gryffindor's chaser Lin Xiu. The game should have ended here, but when the Gryffindor and Slytherin players had landed, the spectators as the crowd was preparing to leave the stadium one after another, Lee Jordan noticed something unusual. The game is over. Why is Professor Snape's broom still flying in the air? Lee Jordan joked, is it possible that the broom Professor Snape rode is reluctant to leave the stadium? Wait a minute. Why is Professor Snape's broom diving towards the audience? The broom seems to be aimed at Professor Quirrell, and the speed is getting faster and faster. Lee Jordan widened his eyes. Professor Snape is trying his best to control the broom with his wand, but it seems to be struggling. Wait a minute. Something is wrong. Why is there a green light coming out of Professor Snape? Is this Avada? Boom! There was a violent explosion in the audience, and the green smoke lingered for a long time, and finally slowly gathered into a human figure. That was Professor Quirrell wearing a purple turban. Other than that, no one was injured in the explosion, but the green smoke produced by the explosion finally dissipated into Quirrell's body. I'm very sorry, Professor Quirrell, Snape said slowly and methodically. It seems that there is something wrong with my broomstick, which has caused you mental damage. I'm sorry. Although he said so, there was no apology on Snape's face. He said in a kind tone, Professor Quirrell, when my flying broom swooped down just now, it seemed to have detonated a bottle of my potion. The smoke produced by the potion will cause tumors in people's noses. I'll help you. No, it's okay. Quirrell jumped up directly, covering his nose with one hand and the back of his head with the other. I also know a little about potions. I will find a way to solve it. After saying that, he jumped up in panic and ran away quickly. Professor Quirrell must have been scared silly. Lee Jordan said, Otherwise, he would definitely not mistakenly think that they're the nose on the back of his head. The audience saw the traces of liquid soaking on Quirrell's trousers. People realized that Quirrell seemed to be frightened by Snape's flying broom attack from the sky, and he didn't even notice that he had wet his pants. Lee Jordan looked at Professor Quirrell's embarrassed escape with pity and shook his head. Poor Professor Quirrell. After the Quidditch match, Snape just returned to his office and saw the message Dumbledore left for him, asking him to meet in the principal's office. After saying the password, Snape saw Severus eating in the principal's office. "Professor Dumbledore, you are looking for me?" Toffee fingers taste very sweet. Dumbledore handed over a piece. "Do you want to try it?" "No, I don't like sweets very much," Snape said. "Don't tell me why you are looking for me directly." After eating the biscuit in his hand, Dumbledore nodded with satisfaction and then said, "Severus, you should be able to guess why I asked you to come today. I think it's related to Quirrell and Voldemort." Snape said, "Do you think my actions on the court today are too impulsive? But we talked about this issue last time. You said that as long as the residual soul of Voldemort in Quirrell doesn't notice my actions, it's fine. Of course you can take some measures against Quirrell, but I hope you can control the intensity a little. It's been a while since this semester, but Quirrell has been recuperating and hasn't attended many defense against the dark arts classes at school," said Dumbledore. "Excuse me, Professor Dumbledore, the content of Quirrell's normal courses is not even as valuable as Flobberworm's feces." Snape looked directly at Dumbledore. "I think, taking this opportunity, I could be the teacher of defense against the dark arts. I believe that I can teach Harry the best defense against the dark arts. This can help him grow into an excellent wizard. We can talk about this later." Hearing Dumbledore's words, Snape sighed. "I understand. Professor, do you have anything else to say? The matter of Quirrell and Voldemort is actually not that important." Dumbledore said, "I called you here mainly for another thing." "What?" Dumbledore clapped his hands gently, and 4 small hourglasses of different colors rose in the headmaster's office. The 4 hourglasses were filled with rubies representing Gryffindor, sapphires representing Ravenclaw, emeralds representing Slytherin, and diamonds representing Hufflepuff. "Severus, many students and parents have written to me recently, saying that a professor at Hogwarts has been adding and deducting points at random, which has caused great emotional harm to them. Do you have any idea about this?" Snape was silent for a while, then slowly shook his head. "I don't know about this kind of thing." Chapter 46 Snape. "I am partial. Last month, Gryffindor's scoring funnel increased by more than 5,000 points. As far as I know, most of them were added by you to Harry." Dumbledore said, "Is that true?" Severus, "I don't deny it." Snape said, "Okay, at least we have reached a partial consensus." Dumbledore nodded. "The changes in the scoring funnel in the past 2 months have attracted widespread attention. Many students and parents hope that I can solve this matter. Some Hogwarts directors have protested to me against your behavior." "Is it Lucius Malfoy who is protesting, Professor?" Snape said, "I always thought you were not the kind of person who would yield to the directors." Dumbledore smiled and said, "Lucius may not have the ability to make me yield. I'm just curious why you did this." "The main reason why Lucius Malfoy protested to me was because he believed that his son Draco Malfoy was treated unfairly. As far as I know, when you enrolled in Hogwarts, Lucius was a Slytherin prefect for a while, and you had a pretty good personal relationship with him when you were on campus." "Yes," Snape said, "Lucius Malfoy treated me well when he was a prefect. I think Lucius must have thought that you would treat his son Draco Malfoy well in Slytherin." Dumbledore said, "But in fact, you have deducted nearly 1,000 points from Draco in the past 2 months. This incident, like Harry's 5,000 points in the past 2 months, has never happened in the history of Hogwarts." "Severus, why did you give Harry so many points?" Dumbledore said, "You should understand that for a child of Harry's age, excessive fame is a double-edged sword. Giving him too many points may make him too proud." Snape said, "I just think that Harry's performance in the past 2 months deserves so many points." Dumbledore coughed. As soon as he waved his hand, a red gem flew out of the Gryffindor scoring hourglass, and Snape's voice came out from it. "I like students who walk into the potions teacher with their left foot. Harry gets 10 points." Dumbledore said, This is one of the extra points records at the beginning of last month. Snape was silent for a while and said, I think that Harry can take the teacher's preferences into consideration during class, which shows that he attaches enough importance to potions and is worthy of encouragement. In that case, Severus. Dumbledore waved his hand again, and a new red gem flew out of the Gryffindor scoring hourglass. Then how do you explain the next bonus? Last weekend, Harry and Seamus Finnegan were in a group, and they caused a small explosion during the potion-making process. In the end, you still gave Harry 10 points. Inside the ruby, Snape's voice sounded, Don't worry about the failure of brewing the potion. Failure after failure will eventually lead you to success. At least, we can see that your explosion this time was very even, which is worthy of encouragement. Harry, 10 points. Under Dumbledore's gaze, Snape nodded slowly. Yes, that explosion was indeed very even. Severus, as far as I know, Mr. Seamus Finnegan has made far more explosions than Harry, but you have never given him any points. In the potion class in the first week of school, you even deducted points from Seamus Finnegan because of the explosions caused by the potion brewing process. Mr. Finnegan's explosions are pure destruction, bringing only chaos, while Harry's explosions are a kind of art. Snape said calmly, Professor Dumbledore, I not only gave Harry points, I also deducted points from him. Yes, Dumbledore nodded. When you deducted point from Harry, he was in the boy's position. State. So, Severus, Dumbledore said, you gave Harry extra points because he looked like Lily when he turned into a girl. It's mainly because Harry performed well and deserves encouragement. Snape said, Of course, I don't deny the part you said. Mr. Malfoy was deducted more than 1,000 points by you. Is it also because of the girl Harry? Yes. Well, at least you were willing to answer the question honestly, Dumbledore said after silence for a while. In this case, let's talk about Harry and the girl Harry first. You don't seem to have completely solved the problem of Harry turning into a girl from time to time. This matter can't be completely solved. Snape shook his head. The unstable polyjuice potion in Harry's body is not a pure potion. I can sense that there are many complex spells mixed in it. It is those spells that make the effect of the polyjuice potion in Harry's body permanent and change from time to time. It may take me several years to learn some permanent spells in the ancient Egyptian pyramids if I want to completely crack it, Dumbledore said. But I remember that the effect of the polyjuice potion in Harry's body is to make Harry transform randomly, not stably into a girl Harry who looks like Lily. Snape admitted, although it is impossible to completely remove the unstable polyjuice potion in Harry's body, I can use potions to adjust some of the medicinal properties. This will allow Harry to stably transform into a girl Harry every time he transforms. Severus, I hope you know one thing. Harry is just Harry. He is not the Lily who grew up with you. Understand, Professor. Lily is dead and will never appear again. Snape said calmly, It's just that after I saw Harry become a girl, that face that looks like Lily, I felt better. Dumbledore sighed. In short, Severus, I hope you can be more restrained when adding points and deducting points when facing the girl Harry. Otherwise, Gryffindor's scoring funnel may be damaged, even if it is protected by magic. Snape nodded. He seemed eager to end the topic and change the subject. According to your plan, after a while, Quirrell, who is controlled by Voldemort's remnant soul, will start to grab the Philosopher's Stone. I have made basic preparations. I'm always very confident in your work. Dumbledore said with a smile, Voldemort's remnant soul can't cause any trouble. Let's watch Quidditch. Today's Quidditch game is particularly exciting, right? I was busy searching for Horcruxes before. After I came back, I heard from Professor McGonagall that Gryffindor's chaser, Lin Xiu, scored 16 quaffles by himself and won with an overwhelming advantage. What a great guy. I think you may not have noticed that I am the head of Slytherin. I'm not too happy about Gryffindor's Lin Xiu, Snape said. If you have nothing else to do, I will go back first. In the Gryffindor common room, the Gryffindor wizards surrounded Lin Xiu, calling out his name, Lin Xiu. Lin Xiu. Lin Xiu. It was as lively as a Quidditch match, and everyone was ecstatic. From time to time, they patted Lin Xiu on the shoulder and smiled kindly. What was almost going crazy with joy. We won. When I was the captain, we beat Slytherin once. Lin Xiu, it's all your credit. The Weasley twins set off colorful fireworks in the room. Those fireworks turned into Lin Xiu riding a flying whip and scoring a goal, flying in the air. I'm a little envious of Lin Xiu. Ron whispered to Harri, when I'm in the second grade, I'm going to find a way to join the Quidditch team. Harri was a little absent-minded, thinking about Professor Quirrell's pitiful look after the Quidditch match today. Professor Snape seemed to be targeting poor Quirrell. Why? Hermione ran to Lin Xiu, her face flushed. Lin Xiu, you did it. You led Gryffindor to win. Hermione pulled Lin Xiu to sit on the sofa in the common room and told her feelings when watching Lin Xiu's goal from her perspective. Lin Xiu, your goal is great. Those people in Slytherin can't do anything to you at all. You are so awesome. Listening to Hermione's chattering and watching other people singing and dancing in the Gryffindor common room, Lin Xiu couldn't help but feel happy. Of course, the main reason is that after the extraordinary performance in this Quidditch match, the reminder sound in the background of his system kept ringing. Ding! Excitement detected. Drawing treasure chest for the host. Chapter 47, The Scoring Funnel Exploded. Ding! Seamus Finnegan's excitement detected. Ding! The Weasley twins' excitement detected. Ding! Minerva McGonagall's excitement detected. Ding! Hermione Granger's excitement detected. Lin Xiu saw the dense prompts in the background of the system and couldn't help but sigh. It's really Quidditch. According to statistics, his extraordinary performance in this Quidditch match alone directly produced 58 treasure chests of various levels. Many system prompts come from those who usually have little presence in Hogwarts, and they also dropped the lowest level bronze treasure chests. After Lin Xiu opened it, he found that there was basically nothing special. Except for some gold galleons, there are things such as love potions, hair growth potions, and BB Duo. Miscellaneous items, such as flavored beans. Only those who are familiar with Lin Xiu have higher quality treasure chests, all of which are silver. Open all the remaining treasure chests. Ding! Silver treasure chest has been opened. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Intermediate Blasting Genius. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Intermediate Swordsmanship Mastery. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Intermediate Magical Animal Affinity. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Intermediate Magic Trick Mastery. Ding! Gold treasure chest has been opened. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Advanced Transfiguration Mastery. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Advanced Flying Talent. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Imitation Mastery. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Advanced Silent Spell Mastery. Just looking at these 933 pop-up reward prompts, Lin Xiu felt physically and mentally happy. Intermediate Explosive Genius. Seamus Finnegan is born with a talent for blasting. He can even cause a violent explosion when casting an almost harmless levitation spell. Professor McGonagall was deeply impressed by this. So, on the eve of the final battle of Hogwarts, she assigned Seamus to blow up the bridge of Hogwarts. After using it, your blasting spell will cause several times the damage, and the power of all your attacks will be enhanced to a certain extent. All your attacks on the enemy have a certain chance to cause a magic explosion, causing additional damage to the enemy. Good God, Seamus's blasting genius talent was just a joke in most of the original book, but I didn't expect it to be so valuable. Lin Xiu was really surprised. If Lin Xiu fights a dark wizard in the future, both sides will fire spells at each other and fall into a state of anxiety. When in the state, the explosive genius talent will work, causing an explosion which can directly catch the enemy off guard or even directly destroy the opponent. Lin Xiu looked at Intermediate Sword Mastery expectantly. Intermediate Sword Mastery. The Sword Master, who learned magic in Hogwarts, drew his sword to kill snakes and destroy demons. During the Battle of Hogwarts, Neville Longbottom pulled out the Gryffindor sword from the sorting hat, killed the Snake Nagini, and destroyed Voldemort's last Horcrux, laying the foundation for Voldemort's demise. After using it, you will master swordsmanship and become a skilled swordsman. Your close combat ability will be greatly enhanced. Rebuilding the glory of the Sword Master is our duty. I'm afraid I won't become a close combat mage in the future. Lin Xiu muttered as he checked the other gains that followed. Among them, intermediate magical creature affinity, advanced transfiguration mastery, advanced flying talent, and advanced silent spell mastery were obtained from the emotional treasure chest dropped by Hagrid, Professor McGonagall, Harri, and Hermione. They are basically upgrades to the corresponding primary and intermediate talent proficiency, and the improvement is huge. Lin Xiu can feel that his strength has been greatly enhanced, and his sense of security is more sufficient. What makes Lin Xiu more curious are the two gains of intermediate magic trick mastery and imitation mastery. Imitation mastery. Ron Weasley can imitate other people's voices very well. He once successfully imitated the parcel tongue that Harry said, which is almost impossible for most people. But Ron successfully opened the Chamber of Secrets in Hogwarts by imitating the parcel tongue, and successfully destroyed the Hufflepuff forest with the help of the basilisk fangs. After using it, you will have a strong ability to imitate. When the enemy wizard chants a spell, you can say the corresponding spell at the same time. When you have enough spell knowledge and rich experience in wizard duels, you can predict the spell that the opponent may release in advance to a certain extent and counterattack the opponent first. Spell copy. Lin Xiu didn't expect that Ron could bring such a surprise. Even if we put imitation aside, the talent of imitation mastery is powerful enough. After all, the only way to break the magic spell is to be fast. Before the enemy wizard launches an attack, he can predict the possible actions of the opponent to a certain extent. With advanced silent spell mastery, Lin Xiu can take action and subdue the opponent before the enemy wizard launches an attack. After using all the gains from the previous opening, Lin Xiu set his sights on intermediate magic trick mastery. Intermediate magic trick mastery. When Fred and George were still students at Hogwarts, they began to study magic tricks. During their time at school, the things they researched and invented were widely welcomed by students. Later, even the Ministry of Magic began to order magic props from them. After using it, your understanding of magic props will be more in-depth. When you come into contact with magic props, Sebj, you can reduce the damage of the evil curses in the magic props to a certain extent. You can use the spells to make various magic props, and the magic power on the magic props will last for a very long time. The Weasley twin arms dealers. Even the Ministry of Magic recognizes the gold content. Lin Xiu's mind immediately had many wonderful ideas for making magic props. In a small way, if he is short of money in the future, he can make various magic props and sell them to make money. In a big way, in the future, he can even find a way to combine wizards' magic with various modern scientific and technological concepts to make various high-tech magic props. For example, Gatling gun wand, magic atomic bomb, magic armor. The future is promising. After combining all the things opened from the treasure chest, Lin Xiu felt satisfied with his growth in strength, which made him feel very good for several days. One afternoon a week after the Quidditch game, Lin Xiu lay on the lawn, softened by magic, and basked in the sun. Hermione sat beside him, holding a book and reading quietly, turning her head to look at Lin Xiu from time to time and occasionally glancing at the book. Harri and Ron ran over. Lin Xiu, I know what the three-headed dog in the mysterious room in the school corridor is guarding, Harri whispered. Just now, Ron and I went to visit Hagrid's cabin, and he accidentally revealed that the thing guarded by the three-headed dog is related to Nicholas Flamel. Nicholas Flamel? If he is a wizard, I can definitely find him in a book, but I don't have any impression of this name. Hermione said, I think we need to read more books to find out who Nicholas Flamel is. Without further delay, I'll go now. Harri excitedly took Ron and ran towards the library. I don't understand. Hermione looked at the disappearing backs of Harri and Ron, puzzled. Why are Harri and Ron so concerned about what is under the trapdoor of the mysterious room? I remember Ron said that he thought the three-headed dog might be guarding some treasure, and it would be an interesting adventure to find out this matter. Lin Xiu stretched. As for Harri, he thinks that what the three-headed dog is guarding is of great importance and may endanger the safety of Hogwarts. Out of a simple emotion, Harri wants to protect Hogwarts and his magical world. As he spoke, Lin Xiu told Hermione about Harry's past life in the Dursleys' home. "Oh my God, the Dursleys are too much," Hermione said angrily. "I'm going to call the police to arrest them." Hermione suddenly looked at Lin Xiu cautiously. "You don't think I'm too barbaric, do you? I think you have a strong sense of justice." Hermione snorted. "You're making fun of me." Lin Xiu got up from the lawn. "Let them solve the problem of Harry and the Dursleys. Harry is not young anymore. What's more, Harry said that it was Hagrid who received Dumbledore's order and rescued him from the Dursleys' home." Lin Xiu said, "I think Dumbledore may have his own considerations. It's getting late. Hermione, let's go back." Hermione put away the book and followed Lin Xiu towards the castle. As soon as we entered the castle and walked to the location of the scoring funnels of the 4 major colleges, we found a group of people gathered around. The Weasley twins walked out of the crowd with smiles on their faces that could not be concealed. "What happened?" Hermione looked over curiously. Fred laughed. When Harry was reading in the library, he ran into Snape and turned into a girl Harry on the spot. So Snape gave Harry a lot of points. In the past period of time, Snape has added too many points to the girl Harry, George Weasley said. Now Gryffindor's scoring funnel has reached its limit. So it exploded. Chapter 48. Harry also slapped Voldemort in the face. The explosion of the Gryffindor scoring funnel became a hot topic in a short time. Even though Dumbledore sent someone to repair the scoring funnel and balance the extra points that Snape gave to Gryffindor, the impact of this incident still lasted for a short time. The reason why this topic lasted for a short time was because Snape took action himself. Snape did this not because others talked about him behind his back. Snape never cared about this. He just couldn't stand the latest magic prop developed by the Weasley twins. The Weasley twins drew inspiration from the fact that Harry turned into a red-haired girl, and together with several senior students, they developed a magic prop called Snape Happy Bonus. This magic prop is essentially a low-quality, short-lasting polyjuice potion, in which the red hair of the girl Harry is added. The Weasley twins hoped to use this magic prop to turn people into the appearance of the girl Harry, so as to add points to their own college in Snape's potion class. But it failed. The magic effect of Snape's Happy Bonus is unstable. All those who have used this magic prop have successfully turned into Harry with long red hair, but with a red face. Different versions of the red-haired boy Harry made Snape have a bad temper for a long time. The Weasley twins were punished and locked up for a period of time. It was mid-December when Lin Xiu saw the brothers again. That morning, Lin Xiu woke up from a dream and saw through the window of the dormitory that there was a deep layer of snow on the ground and the ice on the lake was hard. The Weasley brothers excitedly knocked on the door of Lin Xiu's dormitory. "Hi, Lin Xiu, good morning," Fred said. "It's a beautiful snow, isn't it?" George followed up. "We are going to have a snowball fight, and we are still short of a few people. Do you want to go with us later?" Lin Xiu thought about it and had no classes this morning, so it would be nice to have a snowball fight. After the last Quidditch match, Lin Xiu hadn't received any drops from the emotional treasure box for a while, so he thought that participating in this snowball fight might be a good opportunity. By the way, he could also test some of the gains he had from the emotional treasure box. "Okay, I'll go with you." The Weasley twins were overjoyed. "That's great. You must join us. Judging from your performance in the Quidditch match, you must be very accurate in throwing snowballs." They took the opportunity to pull up Ron, who was lying in bed. Harry took the initiative to join, as he hadn't had much of a snowball fight in the past few years. When he was at the Dursleys' house, he was always the one that Dudley threw snowballs at. The Weasley twins found Lee Jordan and others to make up the numbers, and finally, the group came to a patch of grass in front of the castle. There were 8 people in total, divided into 2 groups, and used the piles of snow on the grass as a battlefield. "Let's start the fight." Ron was a little reluctant when he came out of the bed, but now he was more excited than anyone else. "George, watch out." But Ron's snowball hit Fred next to him. "Good boy. Take my ball." On the grass, the snowball fight began in full swing. At the beginning, the 2 teams fought back and forth. But not long after, Harry called for a stop. "This is unfair," Ron said angrily. "You don't have Lin Xiu. His accuracy is too good. The snowballs he threw alone overwhelmed the 4 of us." The Weasley twins shrugged. "Okay, then you can have one more person." In the end, the snowball melee became Lin Xiu and the Weasley twins, 3 people against Harri, Ron, and the other 5. But the situation did not improve much. Lin Xiu's current comprehensive strength is not exaggerated. Under the same condition of not using a wand, his combat power of throwing snowballs is enough to crush the others on the scene. In the end, even the Weasley twins went to the opposite side, and Lin Xiu fought against the other 7 people alone. Even so, it was a bit difficult for the 7 of them to deal with the snowballs thrown by Lin Xiu. "We can't go on like this," George said. "You can't beat Lin Xiu by playing snowballs in the ordinary way." "That's right, Lin Xiu is too strong. We are wizards after all," said Fred. "I think we should fight each other and play snowballs in the wizard way. How about that?" Lin Xiu drew out his wand. "I have no objection." "Okay, it's time to show our true strength," Ron shouted excitedly. "Harri, let's go against George and Fred." Seeing Harri also draw out his wand, the Weasley twins smiled maliciously. "Ron, you asked for this." For a while, the snow on the whole lawn danced wildly. The wizards present all used the less aggressive transfiguration spell to transform the snow on the ground into different forms for snowball fights. Harri and Ron didn't learn much in the transfiguration class. They could only turn the snow into small animals to attack. "Go!" Ron conjured up little mice and rushed towards the Weasley twins. "Go bite Fred and George's clothes." Harri, based on his experience when he lived in the stairwell compartment of the Dursleys' house, conjured up an animal he often saw, a spider. Ron was frightened when the spider, transformed from snow, crawled over. Fred and George laughed and conjured up snow cats and snow dogs. After defeating Harri and Ron's attack, the snow cats and snow dogs threw them down in the snow. Finally, when the Weasley twins aimed at Lin Xiu, they were surprised to find that Lin Xiu had already controlled 14 snow wolves to rush over and easily knocked everyone down. George was convinced of his defeat. "Lin Xiu, I didn't expect your transfiguration to be so powerful." Fred agreed. "I guess Professor McGonagall must like you very much," Ron exclaimed. "You are really powerful." Harri also looked at Lin Xiu with admiration. They took the same transfiguration course, but Lin Xiu's transfiguration attainments were obviously several levels higher. Lin Xiu smiled, but said nothing. As expected, advanced transfiguration mastery was indeed effective. When he transformed the snow into snow wolves, the process was very smooth and effortless. Moreover, he could feel that transforming the snow into 14 controllable snow wolves was not his limit. Whether we just throw snowballs with our hands or use transfiguration to control the snow, we are all crushed by Lin Xiu. "It's meaningless," the Weasley twins suggested. "How about we change the way of playing or use the magic wand to control the snowballs? But this time we can only use the levitation charm. How about it? Use the levitation charm to launch snowballs to have a snowball fight." This plan was unanimously passed. After all, the level of levitation charm of everyone is estimated to be not much different, and using the levitation charm to fight snowballs can be a back-and-forth fight. Soon, the melee turned into guerrilla warfare. Everyone looked for various shelters to avoid other people's snowballs, and then took the opportunity to launch their own snowballs. When it was almost noon, the snowball war had developed a bit white-hot, and everyone became more and more excited. "Aha, Ron, take it!" Weasley hid behind a wall, controlled the snowball to rush in one direction, and applied a back of the head. Ouch! Looking at the iconic purple scarf on the back of the head, the Weasley brothers shouted at the same time, "Oh no! It's Professor Quirrell!" When Quirrell carefully covered the back of his head, the Weasley twins saw countless snowballs flying from all directions. They hurriedly shouted, "Stop! It's Professor Quirrell!" But it was useless, because when the snowball war developed to a white-hot stage, the Weasley twins used a variety of tactics to hit other people. This included pretending to be professors such as Dumbledore and Snape. Lin Xiu and others had long lost trust in the Weasley twins because of their repeated wolf cry. After hearing the Weasley twins shouting, more snowballs flew around and faster. Countless snowballs flew like raindrops towards Quirrell's back of the head wrapped in a purple scarf. There was no way, in the vast white snow, Professor Quirrell's purple scarf on the back of his head was too conspicuous. Like a brightly colored target, everyone couldn't help but hit it with snowballs. Even the Weasley twins were the same. Although Professor Quirrell usually behaved timidly and harmless, the Weasley twins did not like Professor Quirrell out of some instinct. In comparison, Snape's hateful face might make them feel more at ease than Professor Quirrell. So, the Weasley twins continued to control the snowballs to secretly hit Quirrell's back of the head. Ouch! 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 Quirrell was almost covered by the snowball. Everyone hit more and more vigorously. Finally, when another round of snowballs hit Quirrell, sparks suddenly appeared on the back of Quirrell's head. Boom! A thunderous sound exploded. I saw Quirrell's black robe was blown to pieces and his whole body was charred. But the purple scarf on his head remained dark. Quirrell rolled his eyes and seemed to be about to faint. But at that moment, he froze like a controlled zombie, without saying a word, and quickly fled into the Hogwarts castle. What a beautiful explosion spell! George exclaimed. Look, how evenly it exploded just now. What a hard purple scarf. Fred looked at George. What do you think? We should find a way to get Professor Quirrell's purple scarf. The others present were extremely surprised and talked about it. Who was that master just now? Who was so bold? How dare he use the explosion spell to throw snowballs at Professor Quirrell? Lin Xiu quietly put away his wand in a corner where no one noticed, and he adjusted his clothes a little unnaturally. To be honest, he didn't expect that this thing, intermediate explosion genius, would be so useful. When he played snowballs with Harri and the others before, it seemed that it was not an attack, so it was not triggered at all. When Lin Xiu finally made up his mind and planned to hit Voldemort on the back of Quirrell's head with a snowball, he accurately identified that this was an attack against the enemy and triggered it directly. It almost blew Quirrell to the point of fainting. Lin Xiu felt that the triggering of explosive genius was quite good this time, because he heard the system prompt. Ding! Voldemort Tom Riddle's anger was detected, drawing a treasure chest for the host. Congratulations to the host. You have won a silver treasure chest. Voldemort, who had almost no emotional fluctuations, finally exploded his emotional treasure chest. Lin Xiu thought about it carefully and felt that it was reasonable. They threw snowballs at the back of Quirrell's head, which was equivalent to hitting Voldemort in the face with snowballs. Voldemort, who was so proud, would definitely not be able to bear it. Professor Quirrell was hit like this by our snowballs. Ron said worriedly, will we be expelled? Harry was also a little worried. The Weasley twins were very confident. Don't worry. We have observed that Quirrell is not well liked. It's okay for Professor Snape to trouble Quirrell and drug him again and again. We are just throwing snowballs and having a snowball fight. It's okay. Besides, Harry also threw a snowball at the back of Quirrell's head just now. Me? Harry was a little at a loss. The Weasley twins said with a smile, as long as you become a girl, Harry, and tell Professor Snape about this, Snape might catch Quirrell on the spot and let you continue to hit him. Chapter 49. Intermediate Dark Magic Mastery. Nicholas Flamel and the Philosopher's Stone Hogwarts, Quirrell's office. Quirrell stood in front of a huge, full-length mirror, trembling and untying the purple scarf soaked by snow on his head. He stood there, slightly turned sideways, revealing his head wrapped in a purple scarf. His exposed head was bald and looked surprisingly small. And where Quirrell's back of the head should have been, there was a distorted face. The face was as pale as chalk, with scarlet eyes and two snake-like long nostrils below. The face said to Quirrell viciously, "Waste. You were played by a group of little wizards who didn't graduate. Vile muggles, damn half-bloods." The face became extremely hideous and terrifying. How dare you hit my face? Even dare to use a spell to blow my face. Master, please forgive me. Quirrell whispered. I dare not resist, dare not expose. Please forgive me. This is a great shame. The face said viciously. I have never suffered such a shame. Kill those lowly guys. I dare not. Quirrell trembled all over. Master, Dumbledore is still in school. He will find me. Waste. Quirrell wailed and fell to the ground and curled up. Master, thank you for punishing me. After a long time, he said in a weak voice, Please give me a chance to atone for my sins. I still need to help you find the Philosopher's Stone." Voldemort on the back of Quirrell's head snorted coldly. "Find a Philosopher's Stone as soon as possible. 7 or 8. Also, find a chance to kill the guy who used the explosive spell on my face. I can feel that he is a first-year student." Voldemort said, "Don't forget, there is also Harry Potter." The face on the back of the head slowly closed its eyes, and there was no movement. Quirrell knelt on the ground and said tremblingly, "Yes." Then Quirrell shuddered and quickly found the purple scarf he had just taken off, cleaned it with a spell, and then wrapped the back of his head again. A new problem appeared in front of Quirrell: how to accurately find the one who was against him from the group of little wizards who threw snowballs at that time. What about the one who used the explosion spell on the back of his head? How to kill the little wizard who used the explosion spell and Harry Potter together? Quirrell's head began to hurt again. Since being possessed by the Master, his body has become weaker and weaker, and his ability to think has also become weaker and weaker. Even though Quirrell was born in Ravenclaw College, which is famous for its intelligence, he felt that he could no longer think of any effective action plan. "Master, I don't know how to find the wizard who used the explosion spell. Dumbledore is in Hogwarts school. I don't know what to do." He subconsciously asked for help. "Help me, idiot." Waste. Voldemort seemed to be in a special state, unwilling to spend more effort, and simply said, "Lead all the first-year wizards who participated in the snowball throwing to Dumbledore. Places that cannot be noticed. Forbidden Forest. Kill them all in the Forbidden Forest." On the night of the Snowball War, when Lin Xiu was alone in the dormitory, he opened the emotional treasure chest that Voldemort exploded. Ding! The silver treasure chest has been opened. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Intermediate Black Magic Mastery. Intermediate Black Magic Mastery. Voldemort is considered the most powerful black wizard in history. He knows a lot of advanced black magic knowledge and can perform many powerful and complex black magic. After using it, your black magic talent will be greatly improved. You have great resistance to the damage of black magic, and you can learn and release most of the black magic very easily. Lin Xiu feels that being proficient in black magic is not a bad thing. After all, knowing yourself and the enemy will ensure victory in 100 battles. Understanding and mastering black magic can make you more treat those dark masters well. After using Intermediate Dark Magic Mastery, Lin Xiu fell asleep with satisfaction. Early the next morning, he and Harry were called to Professor McGonagall's office. There were already several people standing in the office. Among them were 2 first-year wizards, Neville and Malfoy. But the round-faced Neville had a panic expression on his face, while the blonde Malfoy was smug. In addition, there was a person with a purple scarf wrapped around his head, standing next to the 2 of them, Quirrell. Quirrell, who was wearing a purple scarf, sobbed. Professor McGonagall had an unbelievable look on his face. "Professor Quirrell, are you saying that as a professor of defense against the dark arts, you were defeated by a group of first-year wizards with snowballs?" Quirrell stammered, "Yes, they went too far. I was almost knocked unconscious by the snowball on the spot. I hope they can understand that it is not good to treat a defense against the dark arts professor like this. I will punish them, Professor Quirrell." Professor McGonagall said calmly, "But the next defense against the dark arts class is about to start. You should go to class first." Quirrell left sobbing, and Professor McGonagall turned her eyes to Lin Xiu and the others. "I feel very angry." Professor McGonagall said so, but there was not much anger in her tone. "You should have respected a defense against the dark arts professor. Students attack professors with snowballs. This kind of thing I have never heard of before. You will all be put in detention." Professor McGonagall's face was expressionless. "No matter what, you have no right to attack a defense against the dark arts professor. Gryffindor will be deducted 50 points. 50 points. Harry thought he would feel sad after hearing the news of the deduction, but he didn't. Let's not talk about the fact that Professor Snape gave Harry extra points in the potions class, which burst the Gryffindor scoring funnel. In the last Quidditch match, Lin Xiu scored 16 goals as a chaser, and Harry caught the golden snitch as a seeker. The 2 of them added a lot of points to Gryffindor. Therefore, after hearing the news of Professor McGonagall's deduction of points, They were not as upset as expected. Professor McGonagall carefully looked at the expressions of Lin Xiu and Harri, and then said, 5,000 points each. Ron felt a little breathless this time. Professor, please. And George and Fred, 50 points each. Lin Xiu and Ron, the four of them, 200 points. Even if Professor Snape's favoritism towards the girl Harri gave him extra points, the impact of this deduction was not that great. But Ron was still not very comfortable. The points he deducted this time were equal to the points George and Fred had deducted in 2 months. More importantly, George and Fred also threw snowballs at Quirrell. Why only punish these first-year wizards? Ron felt a little uncomfortable. You don't have to tell me what I can do, Mr. Weasley, Malfoy agreed. Yes, Professor McGonagall, when I saw Potter and the others throwing snowballs at poor Professor Quirrell yesterday, I tried to stop them, but unfortunately I was alone. Potter and the others must be punished. He smiled happily. Punishment is just a means to ensure that you will not commit similar things in the future. Professor McGonagall said, I will inform you of the specific confinement at that time. All 5 of you will be in confinement. After hearing what Professor McGonagall said, the smile on Malfoy's face disappeared. I'm sorry, Professor. Did I hear it wrong? You just said the 5 of us. Professor McGonagall nodded. You heard it right, Mr. Malfoy. Professor Quirrell told me that when he returned to Hogwarts Castle to avoid the snowball attack from Lin Xiu and Harri, he suffered 2 additional attacks. One was the snowball you threw, and the other was the snowball thrown down from upstairs by Mr. Longbottom. Although your intention to urge Lin Xiu and Harri was good, you also threw snowballs at Professor Quirrell. You have to be in confinement with them, Malfoy said quickly. I was playing in the snow with Crabbe Goyle and others on the side of the road, and Professor Quirrell's purple scarf was too conspicuous. I thought it was a magic target, and I couldn't help throwing snowballs. We didn't know the situation at that time, and those who don't know are ignorant, Professor. Professor McGonagall shook her head. Okay, the matter has been decided. You can go to class. Malfoy left angrily, and Harri and Ron finally smiled. Seeing Malfoy unlucky together, it really makes people feel happy. Lin Xiu looked at Neville. Neville, why did you hit Quirrell's head with a snowball? I'm so unlucky. Neville was about to cry. That morning, after the Weasley brothers called you to play snowballs, I was also a little tempted, but I didn't want to leave the dormitory door. I opened the window to play with snow, but I accidentally dropped it on Professor Jolu's head. Harri said, strangely, but the snowball you dropped from the Gryffindor Tower is unlikely to hit Quirrell, who entered Hogwarts Castle through the main gate. I forgot that I wrapped the memory ball in the snowball. The solid snowball rolled around the outer wall of the castle, and more snow gathered, just gathering into a super large snowball that fell from the sky and hit Professor Quirrell hard. Someone saw Professor Quirrell lying on the ground for 5 or 6 minutes without moving after being hit by my snowball. Neville said with a sad face, Damn it. My grandma will definitely send me a howler letter to scold me. What is a howler letter? Ron explained to Harri. It is a magical letter that will yell at the recipient in the voice of the writer. It sounds scary, and if the howler letter is not opened in time, it will explode and yell even louder. Harri said, That is indeed scary. It seems that I finally have something to be thankful for. The Dursleys will not send me a howler letter. Actually, you don't have to worry so much. Lin Xiu said, I don't think Professor McGonagall is too angry. Harri sighed, I hope so, but we have been deducted points from Gryffindor and have to go to detention. Fortunately, at least several of us are in detention together, so it shouldn't be too scary. Ron said, Fred and George told me that sometimes it's fun to do detention with a group of people. The incident of Quirrell being hit came to an end. Harri thought that his group would be targeted because of the deduction and punishment, but in fact, almost no one in Gryffindor paid attention to the deduction, because Professor Snape always gave extra points to the girl Harri. Even if Gryffindor was deducted a full 200 points, Gryffindor's score was still higher than Slytherin. Compared to 4.9, the little wizards in Gryffindor were more concerned about the snowball fight between Lin Xiu and Harri. Many little wizards complained that why they were not invited to such a fun thing as hitting Quirrell with snowballs. Seamus was particularly regretful because he heard that on the day of the snowball fight, someone used a beautiful explosion spell on Quirrell's head, and he regretted that he didn't see it. The days passed one by one, and soon it was the Christmas holiday. At first, Harry and Ron were a little uneasy about the upcoming detention. For several days, Professor McGonagall's detention punishment, the punishment had not come yet, and they were suddenly relaxed a lot, and they could enjoy the upcoming Christmas holiday easily. Before the Christmas holiday officially began, Harry turned into a girl and read a book in the library one day. When he and Ron were looking for information about Nicholas Flamel, they finally made a breakthrough. It was not because Hermione saw Nicholas Flamel's information in a book. She was with Lin Xiu most of the time. Harry, a girl, accidentally heard Professor Snape, who accidentally passed by the library, say that Nicholas Flamel was the only known maker of the Philosopher's Stone. And the Philosopher's Stone can turn stone into gold and make people immortal. All kinds of speculations in Harry's mind were immediately linked together. He thought clearly that the three-headed dog must be guarding Nicholas Flamel's Philosopher's Stone. He told Lin Xiu and Ron his speculation. The mysterious man who attacked Gringotts must want to steal the Philosopher's Stone to make himself immortal. Chapter 50. Mirror of Erased. True Desire. Harry and Ron were excited for several days after discovering that the three-headed dog was guarding the Philosopher's Stone. Lin Xiu was a little uninterested. After the Christmas holiday began, Hermione had to go home to celebrate with her parents. Lin Xiu felt a little bored because he couldn't stay with the little witch. He could only stay at Hogwarts with Harry and Ron for Christmas. Ron began to teach the two to play wizard chess. However, he soon discovered that Lin Xiu didn't need to teach at all. Harry and Ron together couldn't beat Lin Xiu alone. Lin Xiu, I really don't know how you did it, Ron said enviously. You were good at Quidditch, and you are also so good at wizard chess. Harry was also a little envious. Although he was comparable to Lin Xiu in Quidditch and flying brooms, he didn't play wizard chess very well. Lin Xiu said, maybe it's because I watched others play some chess before. The rules of wizard chess are similar to chess, but this is just an excuse made by Lin Xiu. The real reason was that he had opened wizard chess mastery from the emotional treasure chest before, and his chess skills should not be underestimated. In the end, Lin Xiu, Harry, and Ron, the three of them, changed from a one-on-one game at the beginning to a one-on-two game. Lin Xiu challenged Ron and Harry alone and basically never lost. He won more times and occasionally had a few draws. Of course, neither Harry nor Ron was the kind of person who would get stuck in a rut. Even if they lost more than they won, they still had a lot of fun. When Lin Xiu woke up early the next morning, he saw a pile of packages at the foot of his bed. Lin Xiu 24 Merry Christmas. As soon as Lin Xiu got up, he heard Ron's sleepy voice. Merry Christmas to you too. He looked at the foot of his bed and found that the number of Christmas gift packages was unexpectedly large. Lin Xiu picked up a package at the foot of his bed and found that it was sent by Ms. Okibai, the director of the Wu Orphanage. It was an exquisite men's suit. I heard that students at Hogwarts may attend a dance, and you can wear this dress to invite girls to dance with you. Martha Oakby. Lin Xiu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Hogwarts does hold a dance, but first-year students can't attend. When this dress can be used, it will be too big for others. But anyway, it's Ms. Oakby's intention. Lin Xiu carefully put away the dress. Then the second package was sent by Hermione. The package was opened, and it was a box of black chocolate. Merry Christmas, Lin Xiu. I made this chocolate myself. Try it. After Ron flipped through his Christmas package for a while, he strolled over to Lin Xiu. Wow, chocolate, it looks delicious. Can I try it? Lin Xiu shook his head. This is what Hermione gave me. I want to eat it by myself. Well, Ron said regretfully, there's nothing we can do about it. Wait, he saw the words Hermione left on the chocolate box, and a shocked expression appeared on his face. Lin Xiu, did Hermione confess to you? As soon as this was said, Harry, who was busy unpacking the package, also leaned over. What happened? Hermione likes Lin Xiu. Lin Xiu smiled and said, it's just chocolate. Don't think too much. Harry looked at Ron, with gossip burning in his eyes. Ron, why did you suddenly say that? Lin Xiu said so. Harry asked so. Ron suddenly felt a little unconfident. He hesitated and said, I saw this in a book of Percy. You know, Percy is a prefect, and he always has a big style. He has been reading a book recently that teaches people how to confess, and this statement seems to appear in it. Making heart-shaped chocolates by hand means confession, and if the chocolates are not made into a heart shape, it means that you have a good impression. Maybe I read it wrong. Is there such a thing? Harri was shocked. There is a heart-shaped chocolate in my Christmas present. It is signed by a little girl who was attracted by me on the Quidditch field. Ron said enviously. This is why many people like Quidditch. Finally, when Lin Xiu and the others had sorted out their Christmas presents, it was almost 9 o'clock in the morning. Lin Xiu had the most Christmas presents. In addition to the toffees, a deformable teacup, and a bag of magical plant seeds sent by several professors, there were many anonymous letters from female fans, who were all deeply attracted by Lin Xiu's crazy goal scoring in Quidditch games. Ron's Christmas presents were the second largest. He also took out 2 sweaters from the package and handed them to Lin Xiu and Harri respectively. This is the sweater my mother gave you. I thought you wouldn't receive many Christmas presents before, so I wrote to my mother to tell her about it. Ron said a little embarrassedly. It seems that she knitted you a sweater that is unique to the Weasley family. Ron, thank your mother for me. I like this sweater very much. Lin Xiu put on the spot. It was very thick and warm. Harri also accepted the sweater. Thank you, Ron. As long as you like it. Ron breathed a sigh of relief. My mother will be very happy to know that you are wearing the sweater she knitted. In the end, Harri had the least number of packages, but he opened them the slowest. Except for the letters from anonymous Quidditch female fans. There were 2 more obvious packages left. Harri opened one of them and saw a bottle of golden liquid. The surface of the liquid in the bottle splashed from time to time. There was a note attached to it. Merry Christmas. The bottle contains the elixir, which I think you might need someday. Severus Snape. It's the elixir. Ron's eyes widened. I've heard of it. It seems to bring good luck to people. It's a very precious potion. I didn't expect Professor Snape to give it to you like this. Harri subconsciously opened the lid of the elixir and wanted to drink a few sips, but was stopped by Lin Xiu. Harri, you should use it when you need luck in the future. It's a bit of a waste to drink it like this. Lin Xiu guessed that with Snape's current concern for the girl Harri, this elixir was probably for Harri to use at a critical moment. For example, in the room where the Philosopher's Stone was hidden, when he confronted Quirrell. Okay, Harri decided to follow Lin Xiu's advice. After he put away the Felices, he opened the last package. The package was very light. After opening it, something like a liquid silver gray slid to the ground, gathered into a pile, and sparkled. Ron gasped. I've heard of this thing. This is an invisibility cloak. It's very rare and very valuable. Harri tried on. As soon as Harri put on the invisibility cloak, Lin Xiu saw Harri disappear, and only his head without the invisibility cloak was hanging in the air. Then, a note fell out of the invisibility cloak. It was written in a thin, circle-in-circle font that he had never seen before. Your father left this thing to me before he died. It should be returned to you now. Use it well. I sincerely wish you a Merry Christmas. Harri waited for the note in a daze. Is this really my father's invisibility cloak? Who sent it? Lin Xiu didn't say anything. Who else could it be? Principal Dumbledore. The turmoil caused by the invisibility cloak soon subsided. They spent a happy Christmas. The Hogwarts Great Hall was decorated very warmly, with magical stars shining everywhere. The Christmas dinner was also very sumptuous, with hundreds of plump roast turkeys, piles of roast meat and boiled potatoes, plates of delicious sausages, and bowls of buttermixed peas, plates of thick gravy and cranberry sauce. You can't finish it. You can't finish it at all. The little wizards who stayed in Hogwarts for Christmas all had smiles on their faces. They had a happy Christmas. At night, Lin Xiu and Ron fell asleep quickly. But the next morning, Lin Xiu found that Harri got up very early and sat on his bed in pajamas in a daze. Harri, did you get up very early or didn't sleep last night? Lin Xiu looked at Harri's dark circles and said, Did you go out for a night tour last night? Almost. Harri came back to his senses and said, I was wearing an invisible cloak last night, and I almost ran into Filch on patrol while I was out for a night tour. I accidentally saw a very magical mirror while hiding. I saw my parents in that mirror. So I stayed outside until 3:30 and came back very late. After hearing this, Ron said angrily, Harry, you should have woken Lin Xiu and me up. I want to see your parents. You can come tonight. I will go again. I will let you see the mirror. It was night soon. Harry was sleepy during the day, but he was full of energy at night. Harry covered Lin Xiu and Ron with the invisibility cloak and took them to the room where the magic mirror was. This room seemed to be an abandoned classroom, with many tables and chairs piled up, forming a large dark shadow in the corner. But next to one wall of the room was something that didn't seem to belong here, as if someone had temporarily placed it here because there was no place to put it. It was a very imposing mirror. It reached the ceiling with a gorgeous golden frame and was supported by two claw-shaped feet. Above the mirror was a line of words engraved, which read, Iristra et ubi cafluate envos, which was not smooth. But Lin Xiu read the English on the mirror backwards and understood it. I'm not showing your face, but it is your desire. The mirror of Arist can show the most urgent and strongest desire in a person's heart. Harry and Ron were still arguing about what they saw in the mirror. Ron saw himself becoming a prefect, reaching the peak of his life and looking proud. Harry saw his family reunited and happy. While they were arguing, Lin Xiu quietly walked a few steps towards a mirror. He really wanted to know how this mirror would reflect the deep desire of him as a time traveler. So Lin Xiu saw it. Two beautiful witches hugged him and kissed him, acting very close. Lin Xiu knew at a glance that these two witches were Hermione and Ginny when they grew up, two beautiful women. Behind Ginny and Hermione, there are more beauties he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. This mirror is really accurate in judging people. Chapter 51, Dumbledore's Guilt. Detention begins. Lin Xiu looked at the image in the mirror of Eris carefully, and he became more and more envious. The self in the mirror was surrounded by two beauties, Hermione and Ginny, who had grown up, and there were more beauties behind him. This was simply a dream life. What a pity. He was still a long way from such a life. Lin Xiu was just a freshman who had just enrolled in Hogwarts. It would take several more years for little beauties like Hermione and Ginny to grow into big beauties. Moreover, the magic world now seemed very peaceful. But many dark wizards, including the remaining Death Eaters, were operating in the dark, and the remnant of Voldemort was waiting for an opportunity to make a comeback. The magic world was not as safe as it appeared. It was not easy for Lin Xiu to realize his dream life. I am too weak now, and I still have to open more emotional value treasure boxes to make myself stronger. He knew that he was just a mortal. After coming to the magic world of Hogwarts, Lin Xiu had only a simple wish in his heart. Just wanted to live a peaceful life with the beauties, including Hermione. But to realize such a simple wish, one needs to have enough strength to ignore all threats. The key to Lin Xiu's strength is his own emotional treasure box system. Since the awakening of the system, he has obtained several emotional treasure chests of different levels, and he has gradually summarized some rules of emotional treasure chest drops that the system did not mention. The items that can be opened in the treasure chest are basically related to the treasure chest dropper. Therefore, the higher the status of the treasure chest dropper, the better the items that can be opened in the treasure chest. For example, the items that can be opened in Dumbledore's bronze treasure chest must be much better than the silver or even gold treasure chest of an unknown muggle. In addition, the emotional value treasure chests dropped by each person are relatively easy to drop those low-level treasure chests at the beginning. The higher the value of the emotional value treasure chests, the harder it is to drop. To date, many of the emotional value treasure chests that Lin Xiu has obtained are bronze and silver, and there are not even a few gold ones. The higher-level diamond treasure chests and ultimate treasure chests are something he has never seen. Lin Xiu scored 16 quaffles in the last Quidditch game, and the battle after defeating Slytherin. A total of 58 emotional treasure chests of different levels were obtained. 50 of them were the lowest level bronze treasure chests. All that was open were some messy sundries with low value. Lin Xiu felt that it was time for him to change his mindset. Now that he had gained a certain degree of self-protection through many emotional treasure chests, it was no longer meaningful to continue harvesting low-level emotional treasure chests. He should focus on the high-level emotional treasure chests that drop positively. He should mainly focus on those powerful or famous wizards and obtain their emotional treasure chests. After all, Lin Xiu's energy was limited, and only in this way could the benefits be maximized. For example, the emotional treasure chests dropped by the protagonists such as Harri, Ron, and Hermione, and the emotional treasure chests dropped by the Hogwarts teachers, including Professor McGonagall, Professor Snape, and Professor Dumbledore. The treasure chests they dropped could stably open good things. Of course, the more treasure chests, the better. Lin Xiu would not refuse ordinary treasure chests that could be obtained easily, but he would not spend a lot of money. 1. Through this period of contact, Lin Xiu has become more or less familiar with Harri and others, and has also had some ideas about obtaining advanced emotional treasure chests. For Harri and other young wizards, Lin Xiu only needs to participate in some of their events from time to time and play a role in them to get good feedback. As for the professors, Lin Xiu is relatively familiar with Professor McGonagall, Professor Snape, and Professor Dumbledore, and his main energy is temporarily focused on them. Professor McGonagall is very interested in Quidditch, and the most emotional thing that can mobilize her emotions is the Gryffindor Quidditch team versus Slytherin team. In the next school year, the two colleges will have another Quidditch battle, so Lin Xiu is not in a hurry for the time being. As for Professor Snape, his heart not as Lily. Harri, a girl who looks very similar to Lily, can affect Professor Snape's emotions the most. However, through observations during this period, Lin Xiu discovered that Snape seemed to have gradually adapted to the presence of the girl Harri and would not have too much emotional fluctuations for the time being. If you want to get a gold or even higher level emotional treasure chest from Snape, you can only wait for something to happen to the girl Harri next time. Lin Xiu felt that this sudden incident would not be too late. It would not be long before Harri would definitely confront Quirrell, who was possessed by Voldemort because of the Philosopher's Stone. By then, Snape's emotional fluctuations would be very obvious, and the golden treasure chest would be dropped in the near future. And the emotional treasure chest that Lin Xiu harvested from Dumbledore should be the least. As a powerful wizard who has been famous for a long time, Dumbledore is knowledgeable and many things will not cause him too strong emotional fluctuations. But Lin Xiu understands the plot and knows that Dumbledore also has things in his heart that are difficult to let go. When he was young, his sister Ariana died in an accident. Dumbledore's brother broke up with him because of this, and he completely lost his family affection. In addition, Dumbledore's life trajectory also runs through and affects two generations of Dark Lords, Grindelwald and Voldemort. This is also a past that Dumbledore cannot ignore. These are points that Lin Xiu can use. After careful consideration, Lin Xiu plans to start with Dumbledore's family affection, which is more feasible. In the near term, Lin Xiu can find a way to repair the relationship between Dumbledore's brother Aberforth and him. In the long term, Lin Xiu can find a way to solve Dumbledore's not about his sister Ariana. The most important thing is that Dumbledore is most guilty about family affection. Starting from Dumbledore's family affection is easier to obtain Dumbledore's emotional treasure chest, and it is not so dangerous. If it is involved in the affairs of two generations of Dark Lords, it will involve many people and may also cause Dumbledore's vigilance and hostility. After all, Dumbledore is not only kind-hearted. When he was young, he almost got together with the first Dark Lord Grindelwald for the great benefit. Dumbledore might be a bit unscrupulous in his style of action in order to eliminate Voldemort, who might be resurrected. There is no need to be unlucky in front of Dumbledore. In the next period of time, apart from occasionally participating in some actions of Harri and others, the main energy will be focused on studying how to use family affection to drop Dumbledore's emotional treasure chest. After Lin Xiu cleared his mind, his thoughts became much smoother and he seemed to be refreshed. Harri and Ron seemed to see the smile on Lin Xiu's face. They stopped arguing and looked at Lin Xiu together. Lin Xiu, Harri, and I see different things. What do you see in the mirror? Lin Xiu saw his desire in the mirror of Ariste. Hermione and Ginny were very close to him. and there were more beauties behind him, but he didn't intend to tell the truth. I saw myself. It seemed to be an ordinary mirror. After all, Lin Xiu is just a first-year doctor now. The desire to be surrounded by beautiful women is still a bit too shocking for a first-year wizard. Who knows if Dumbledore is paying attention to this place at this moment? It's strange, Harry whispered. I thought people whose parents have both passed away could see their parents in the mirror. Lin Xiu, you can't see your parents in the mirror. Is it because they are still alive in this world? Lin Xiu shook his head. Even if they are still alive, I grew up alone in an orphanage, and I have no impression or feelings for them. In comparison, the director of the orphanage, Mrs. Oakbeth, is more like my relative. Ron said, "What a strange mirror." Because this mirror reflects the most urgent and strongest desire in people's hearts. Ron and Harry were all shocked. They didn't realize that there was another person in the room. Lin Xiu looked in the direction of the sound without any surprise, and sure enough, it was Dumbledore. "Good evening, everyone," Dumbledore said in a relaxed tone. "It seems that you, like thousands of people before you, have discovered the wonders of the Mirror of Ariste. I guess you should have experienced its magic, right?" Harry said, "I saw my family, and I found myself in the mirror as the head boy of the student union." Ron was a little embarrassed. Lin Xiu said calmly, "It's just like an ordinary mirror. I only saw myself in the mirror. For the happiest person in the world, the Mirror of Ariste is indeed an ordinary mirror." Dumbledore smiled and said, "There is no doubt that Mr. Lin Xiu is very satisfied with his current life, which is a good thing. This is much better than everyone else, including me." Ron said in surprise, "Professor Dumbledore, a respected professor like you, do you also feel that you are not happy enough?" Dumbledore shook his head. "Life always leaves some regrets." Harry stood up. "Professor Dumbledore, can I ask you a question?" "Of course, you just did it." Dumbledore smiled. "But you can ask me another question. What did you see when you looked in the magic mirror?" Harry and Ron looked at Dumbledore expectantly. "Me? I saw myself holding a pair of thick wool socks." "There are never enough socks," Dumbledore said. "Christmas came and went, and I didn't receive a pair of socks. People insisted on giving me books." Harry and Ron were a little puzzled when they heard Dumbledore's words. How could Dumbledore's deepest desire be a pair of wool socks? Lin Xiu couldn't help but sigh in his heart. In Britain, wool socks represent family affection. Although he had long known that Dumbledore was trapped by family affection. But when he heard Dumbledore say this in person with a somewhat humorous tone, Lin Xiu still felt a little emotional. What is presented in the Mirror of Ariste is just an illusion. We can't learn knowledge from it. The illusion it presents will only make people obsessed and crazy. Dumbledore said softly, "It is useless to indulge in illusory scenes and ignore real life. The mirror will be moved to a new place tomorrow." Dumbledore said, "Why don't you go back to sleep?" Lin Xiu took Harry and the others back to the dormitory, and they continued to spend a rare Christmas vacation. But unlike Lin Xiu, who had put down the Mirror of Ariste a long time ago, Harry was fascinated by the scene of his relatives in the mirror. For several days, Harry would put on his invisibility cloak at night and try to find the trace of the Mirror of Ariste in an abandoned classroom. Most of the time, he found nothing and had to try to forget the various images he saw in a magic mirror. But one morning, when the Christmas vacation was about to end, Harry sat on his bed with a panda-like stare. It was obvious that he had encountered something again and couldn't sleep at night. Lin Xiu asked curiously, "Harry, have you found the Mirror of Ariste again?" Ron said worriedly, "Dumbledore is right. Harry, the images in the mirror may drive you crazy." Harry said, "I didn't find the Mirror of Ariste. I just can't figure out one thing. Last night, when I went out wearing the invisibility cloak, I saw Professor Snape threatening Professor Quirrell in a dark corner, and they mentioned the Philosopher's Stone in their conversation. I don't understand why Professor Snape did this. He is obviously a good person." Ron corrected, "Harry, Professor Snape is only a good person in front of you when you become a girl." Lin Xiu asked, "Harry, so do you think Professor Snape is a bad person?" Harry shook his head hesitantly. Lin Xiu smiled and said, "Is there a possibility? Is the person that Professor Snape is targeting the bad guy?" This time it was Harry and Ron who were surprised. Professor Quirrell is a bad guy? Lin Xiu's words gave Harri and Ron a new idea. After all, they had been in contact with Snape a lot during this period of time. In front of the girl Harri, Snape could barely be considered a good guy. Since Professor Snape is not a bad guy, then the person he threatened is probably not a good guy. Harri and Ron decided to start investigating. We have to find a way to find out the true face of Quirrell. But before the two of them started investigating Quirrell for long, they were robbed of time by 10 other things. At noon at the end of the Christmas holiday, they receive a note from Professor McGonagall. Your detention starts at 11 o'clock tonight. Find Mr. Filch in the hallway. Professor McGonagall, Chapter 52, Forbidden Forest, at 11 o'clock in the evening. Lin Xiu said goodbye to Hermione, who had returned from vacation, and prepared to leave the Gryffindor common room with Harry and the others, and go to the castle lobby downstairs to find Filch to receive the detention punishment. Lin Xiu had found out earlier today that the detention punishment tonight was in the Forbidden Forest. Harry didn't know what the Forbidden Forest meant. Ron was a little eager to move. Many people say that there are all kinds of dangerous magical animals in the Forbidden Forest of Hogwarts, but Fred and George told me that the Forbidden Forest is quite fun. 89. Hermione was a little worried. Lin Xiu, you must pay attention to safety and don't leave Hagrid too far. I read in some books that there are werewolves in the Forbidden Forest of Hogwarts, which is very dangerous. Don't worry, I'm fine. Lin Xiu gave Hermione a bright smile. According to the original plot, there were many unicorn attacks in the Forbidden Forest, all of which were done by Voldemort-possessed Quirrell. At this time, Voldemort in Quirrell's body was a residual soul, and it needed the blood of unicorns to continue its life. If nothing unexpected happens, the detention punishment of Lin Xiu and his friends this time should be related to the unicorn attack. Moreover, there is a chance that they will encounter Voldemort. At this time, Voldemort is in an extremely weak state. In the Forbidden Forest, with Hagrid's protection, there is basically no danger. Lin Xiu thinks that this is a good time to brush Voldemort's emotional treasure chest. Harry and Ron at the door of the Gryffindor lounge are already urging, Lin Xiu, we should go. Seeing that Hermione is still worried, Lin Xiu gently holds Hermione's hand just like when they first met. Lin Xiu said solemnly, I promise you, I will come back safely. Hermione held Lin Xiu's hand tightly for a full minute and then let go. Okay, I'll wait for you. Lin Xiu and Harry Ron came to the hall together, and Filch was already waiting there and Malfoy. Follow me, Filch said, lighting a lamp and leading them out. I think you should think twice before breaking the school rules again, right? Filch threatened them with a squinting look. It's a pity that we can't use those old-fashioned punishment methods now. When you were in detention, you had to tie your wrists, hang from the ceiling for several days. I really miss those screams, perhaps because Filch was very happy when he said these words. Except for Lin Xiu, these little wizards were almost all scared. Harry and Ron were scared for a moment, but soon they looked forward to the secrets that might exist in the Forbidden Forest. Neville couldn't help sniffing, and Malfoy touched his golden hair uneasily. Sedge, Lin Xiu was not affected. He just felt that Filch was both pitiful and hateful. Because Filch was a squib, he was full of twisted hatred for those Xiaojiangs who had magical talents. They strode through the dark venue. Perhaps because Christmas had just passed, there was still snow along the way, and the lights of Hagrid's hut appeared in the dark snow. Then, they heard a shout from a distance. Is that you, Filch? Hurry up, I'm leaving. Lin Xiu didn't know if he heard it wrong. Hagrid's voice sounded a little depressed. Fong the Hound ran out of the darkness, and Hagrid strode towards Lin Xiu and the others. He carried a huge crossbow and a full quiver on his shoulder, but his face was not very happy, and he sighed from time to time. Filch stared at Hagrid's face. You are not still sad about the dragon, are you? Hagrid was silent for a while, and then said, Filch, you go back to the castle. I will be responsible for the next step. I will come back at dawn and clean up your debris. Good night. After Filch made some harsh words, he turned around and walked towards the castle excitedly. After Filch disappeared, Ron said excitedly, What is the dragon that Hagrid mentioned just now? Ron's brother, Charlie, raised dragons in Romania, and he was very interested in it. Even Malfoy couldn't help looking at Hagrid as named Draco, also means dragon. I was drinking in the village a few days ago, and I won a dragon egg while playing cards with someone. Hagrid said, I took some time to hatch it, and it turned out to be a Norwegian ridgeback. Later, the little dragon grew too fast, and I couldn't hide in my hut. So Dumbledore sent it to Romania to live in a group. Harry comforted. This should be considered a good thing. It lives with its own kind. What if it doesn't like Romania? What if other dragons bully it? After all, it's still a baby. Hagrid shook his head. Is Norbert the name of the dragon? It sounds like a male dragon. It's a pity that we didn't see it in person. It should look very handsome, right? Ron said, this is the main reason why I was hit hard. Hagrid said sullenly, I raised Norbert for so many days, but I didn't realize it was a little female dragon. It now has a new name, Norbeta, the female dragon Norbeta in the Romanian dragon group. It is no longer my Norbert. Hagrid sighed. Alas, it's useless to say anything now. Norbert has left me. Let's go to the Forbidden Forest. He brought Lin Xiu and the others to the edge of the Forbidden Forest. Lin Xiu saw a path gradually disappearing into the darkness, and a breeze blew out of the forest. He had previously opened the eagle eyes in the emotional treasure chest of Ms. Hooch, the flying teacher, and gained night vision. Therefore, at this time, even without the help of the fire in Hagrid's hand, Lin Xiu could see the details around him clearly. Lin Xiu carefully observed the surroundings, trying to distinguish the traces that Voldemort might have left. At this stage, Voldemort had to rely on attacking unicorns and relying on the blood of unicorns to survive, so his strength must not be strong. In the Forbidden Forest, with Hagrid as a guard, it was very safe. This time to the Forbidden Forest is a good time to get Voldemort's emotional treasure chest. Look over there. Hagrid pointed in a direction and said, see that shiny thing on the ground? The silver white one? That's the blood of the unicorn. A unicorn in the Forbidden Forest was injured by something and was seriously injured. This is the third one in this period. We must try to find the poor unicorn and rescue it. What if the thing that hurt the unicorn finds us first? Malfoy asked, with uncontrollable fear in his voice. As long as you are with me, or Fong, no creature in the Forbidden Forest will hurt you. Hagrid said, don't leave the path. Okay, now we have to split into two groups and search along the blood trail. There are bloodstains everywhere. Obviously, it has been stumbling around since at least last night. I want Fong, Malfoy said hurriedly, looking at Fong's strong muscles. Okay, but I remind you that it's a coward. Hagrid said, then Lin Xiu, Ron and Neville will go one way, and Malfoy, Harry and Fong will go another way. If anyone finds the unicorn, shoot green sparks, understand? Take out your wands and practice. Yes, if anyone gets into trouble, shoot red sparks. We will all come to you. Okay, everyone be careful. Let's go. It was dark and silent in the Forbidden Forest. Everyone walked a long way. When they arrived in an open space, something was moving in front of them. Malfoy said in horror, What is there? Chapter 53 Malfoy. I will never abandon Harry Potter. Hagrid picked up the bow in his hand and was aiming, while Harry, Ron, and the others hid behind Hagrid. Come out, Hagrid shouted. I'm carrying a weapon. Lin Xiu, with the night vision of Eagle Eye, saw the thing in front of the clearing earlier than others. Its lower body is a horse, and its upper body is a human, with red hair and beard. Oh, it's you, Ronan. Hagrid breathed a sigh of relief and said, How are you? He walked forward and shook hands with the centaur. Good evening, Hagrid. Ronan said, You want to shoot me with a bow and arrow? I have to be vigilant, Ronan, Hagrid said, patting his quiver. There's a bad guy moving around in this forest. Oh, by the way, this is Lin Xiu and Harry Potter. They're students in the school above. Let me introduce you. This is Ronan, a centaur. Malfoy muttered, I noticed it a long time ago. Good evening, Ronan said. You are students? Have you learned much in school? Lin Xiu said, Learn a little. Harry and Ron didn't dare to speak. They thought, if Hermione was here, maybe they could say they learn a lot. Learn a little good, that's good. Ronan sighed. He looked up and stared at the sky. Mars is very bright tonight. Yes, Hagrid said, and looked up at the sky. Listen, Ronan, I'm glad we met you. Because a unicorn was injured, did you see anything? But Ronan just repeated several times about the bright Mars. Finally, he said, There are many secrets in the forest, and then walked in front of Lin Xiu, staring at Lin Xiu for a while in the eyes of others. You are very unusual. Then, the centaur Ronan left. Hagrid looked at Lin Xiu in surprise. Centaurs always look up at the stars. They're not interested in anything except the things around the moon. It's rare that Lin Xiu Ronan thinks so much of you. Malfoy was a little sour. He was born in an ancient pure-blood family, but the centaur didn't even look at him. But Malfoy was also very happy to see that the centaur didn't look at the damn Potter. He sneered. It seems that the centaurs don't think Scarhead Potter is a qualified savior. But Harry's emotions did not fluctuate at all. If I have a choice, I hope I'm not a boy who survived a disaster, Harry said. Not to mention that Lin Xiu is indeed stronger than me. Ron said, Indeed. Neville nodded as well. Malfoy felt like he had punched cotton and could only sulk by himself. They continued to walk through the dense, dark woods. In the bushes ahead appeared another centaur, with black hair and a black body, stronger than the previous Ronin. Hello, Bane, Hagrid said. How are you doing? Bane said. Good evening, Hagrid. I hope everything is well with you. It's okay. You see, I was just asking Ronan, have you seen anything strange here recently? A unicorn was injured. Do you know anything about it? But facing Hagrid's questioning, Bane's performance was similar to Ronan's before. Bane looked at the moon in the sky. Mars is very bright tonight. Hagrid was a little annoyed when he heard it. Well, if you see any clues related to unicorns, tell me. Okay? Let's go. Before leaving, Bane walked straight to Lin Xiu, stared at Lin Xiu for a while, and said, You are destined to achieve extraordinary success. Then he just left. Lin Xiu frowned and watched Bane leave. What happened to these two centaurs? Could it be that they really foresaw something? It was mentioned in the original book that most centaurs have a good talent for divination and prophecy, so they can know a lot of things. Lin Xiu wondered if these two centaurs had seen a glimpse of his future. In the next few years, the events that can be regarded as having a major impact are Voldemort's resurrection and the rampage of the Death Eaters, a group of dark wizards. The centaurs predicted that he would soon achieve extraordinary things. Is it referring to the destruction of Voldemort in the future? Look at his history, but it's useless to worry about these things now. Lin Xiu is not likely to face Voldemort head-on yet, so there is no need to care about this prophecy. In contrast, Lin Xiu is more concerned about Voldemort's whereabouts. He also plans to take advantage of Voldemort's current weak state to get the emotional value treasure chest from him. After walking for so long, there has been no trace of Voldemort. But Hagrid was really shocked. Centaurs have a talent for divination, and they always act mysterious. Hagrid said, Centaurs know a lot of things, but they keep their mouths shut. Lin Xiu, it seems that you may have some remarkable achievements in the future. Harry and Ron looked at Lin Xiu. Ron whispered, To be honest, Lin Xiu, I envy you a little. You see, the centaurs didn't say that I would achieve extraordinary success in the future. Neville said unconfidently. The centaurs didn't talk to me either. Maybe I will be an ordinary internet cafe in the future. Malfoy's expression was also a little pessimistic. I am an ancient pure blood. Will I be like Scarhead and the others in the future and not achieve any success? Lin Xiu comforted everyone. What the centaurs said may not come true. Don't worry about it. That's right, Hagrid laughed. If the centaurs' predictions were completely accurate, I think they would have conquered the entire magical world long ago. Harry, what's wrong with you? Harry covered the lightning scar on his head, staggered back, and fell to the ground. His voice became very thin and weak. I feel like the scar is on fire. Harry's short black hair turned into long red hair, and his figure became a little smaller. Harry became a girl. Lin Xiu was alert to the surroundings. The scar on Harry's head would have a certain connection with Voldemort. When Harry felt the burning pain of the scar, it meant that Voldemort might be active nearby. It was both a danger and an opportunity. Lin Xiu took out his wand and warned, Hagrid, be careful. I feel something is wrong around me. Hearing Lin Xiu's words, Hagrid couldn't help but feel hesitant. If it were normal, he might not care too much. But on the one hand, the Forbidden Forest has been uneasy recently, and many unicorns have been attacked. On the other hand, The centaurs, who always disliked normal talk, praised Lin Xiu one after another, which was enough to prove that Lin Xiu was extraordinary. Finally, for safety reasons, Hagrid still planned to follow Lin Xiu's advice. Let me send you out first, and you stay in my hut for one night. I will continue to patrol the Forbidden Forest. Hagrid made a decision. Fong, come back, let's go home. Malfoy said dissatisfiedly. You are lazy. I will report you to Dumbledore. Well, Malfoy, you wait for me here alone. I will send Lin Xiu and Harri back. Fong, you stay with Malfoy. Hagrid strode back the way he came, and Malfoy hurriedly followed him. Wait, I'm kidding. In fact, not everyone needs to go back. Just let me and Potter go back together. I can send Potter back after he becomes a girl. I come from an ancient pure-blood family. I have my own pride. I will never abandon Potter. Malfoy babbled a lot, but Hagrid had made up his mind and walked back very quickly. No one listened to what Malfoy was saying. Okay. Malfoy finally gave up. It's good to be able to leave this damn Forbidden Forest. He no longer said anything about keeping Ron, Neville, and Lin Xiu to continue patrolling in the Forbidden Forest, and instead began to play with the Hound Fawn. Be careful, Malfoy, Hagrid warned. Fong is very timid. You will scare it. But Malfoy enjoyed it, especially when he saw Harri, who had become a girl, with an angry look on his face. Malfoy felt an indescribable joy in his heart. Potter, you care about this dog, don't you? Malfoy said, seeing me bullying it. What can you do? Huh? Malfoy teased the Hound Fong more and more vigorously. Finally, the Hound Fong couldn't stand it anymore and ran a distance into the dark area of the forest ahead. Don't run, big dog. Malfoy chased after him with a laugh. Harri shouted, Malfoy, angrily and ran after him. Finally, the two people and the dog disappeared in the darkness of the Forbidden Forest. Don't run. The Forbidden Forest is very dangerous at night. It was too late for Hagrid to shout at them, and the darkness of the forest swallowed them. Follow them, Hagrid said anxiously. We have to find them before they go far. He strode forward, but could not find any trace of Harri or Malfoy. Ah! Malfoy screamed and suddenly rushed out from the darkness behind Lin Xiu, bumping around like a headless fly, while Fong Ya appeared from the darkness in front of Hagrid with his tail between his legs. Malfoy, where's Harri? Hagrid grabbed the running Malfoy and was furious. You made Harri beautiful. Is this the so-called pure blood pride? Ron said angrily. Is this what you said? I will never abandon Harry Potter. I don't know. Malfoy said in horror, sweating profusely. There are monsters ahead. There are monsters sucking the blood of unicorns. It was dark everywhere, and it was really difficult to see where Harri was. But the eagle eyes that Lin Xiu opened from the emotional treasure box gave him night vision. So, he easily, after penetrating the darkness, Harri fell to the ground, holding the scar on his head. 10 figures with black hoods were moving towards Harri like snakes. Now is not the time to worry about Malfoy. Hagrid, Harri is in front. Lin Xiu strode forward and waved his wand at the hooded figure that seemed to be Voldemort. In order to get the emotional value treasure chest from Voldemort and save Harri, Lin Xiu used his only evil curse attack. Bat Bogey Hexes. The bat curse can turn the enemy's booger into bats and harass the enemy. When the power is enough, it can cause tons of damage to the enemy's nasal cavity. After Lin Xiu cast the spell, he thought with some evil taste, I wonder if Voldemort, a noseless monster, has booger pills. Chapter 54. The Nose Dark Lord loses his nostrils seeing the hooded man about to rush up. Harri wanted to escape, but he couldn't. The pain caused by the lightning scar on Harry's head made him unable to move. At this moment, he seemed to hear some movement in the forest in the distance. A red light hit the hooded man, who was rushing up with great momentum. In an instant, the opponent's forward momentum suddenly stopped, and the front and back of his head suddenly bulged, spewing out bursts of black smoke. The black smoke turned into dozens of bats entangled in the face of the mysterious hooded man, wrapping his head tightly. But the next second, the bats wrapped around the mysterious man's head began to emit a fiery red light. Harri immediately remembered the scene of them throwing snowballs at Quirrell's head not long ago. It was the same at that time. After Quirrell's back of the head was hit by a snowball, a violent explosion occurred. Harri didn't have time to think about it and subconsciously rolled behind a tree. With a bang, the hooded man's head exploded like a double-open faucet, with sparks spraying from front to back. Harri was stunned. The mysterious hooded man who came with such a strong momentum had his head blown up like this? Who is so powerful? Ron? No. Ron's cooking spells are generally terrible. Then it must be Lin Xiu. Only Lin Xiu can cast such a beautiful spell. It must be him who threw a snowball to blow up Quirrell's head before. Harri felt relieved immediately. He subconsciously looked in the direction where the red light of the spell came from, wanting to see Lin Xiu's figure clearly, but found that the mysterious hooded man with fire burning from the front and back of his head had come to him. My nose, my nose. The mysterious man was covered in black air, and his figure could not be seen clearly, but he roared and hissed like a snake. Kill you. Holy you. The mysterious man had a green light on his body and pointed in the direction of Harri. Harri suddenly felt a splitting headache, and many painful fragments of memories appeared in his mind. The red-haired woman, the green light of the spell, screams death. At this moment, Harri felt that the dark forest seemed to be illuminated by the soft silver light for a moment. A silver glowing illusory figure directly knocked the mysterious man to the ground and rolled several times, interrupting the mysterious man's spell. Harri saw clearly that it was a silver-white doe. The doe's body was as bright as moonlight, and it ran gracefully in the air, silently. Harri felt an inexplicable familiarity and kind. The doe looked at Harri, rushed towards the hooded mysterious man again, and disappeared. Harri bet that the elf-like doe must have caused great damage to the hooded mysterious man, because the hooded mysterious man's figure became light and fluttery, like a rag that was about to be blown away by the wind. Then the sound of horse hooves trotting came from the forest, and something rushed out of the darkness behind Harri. When Harri came to his senses, he found that the previous hooded man had disappeared, and a centaur with platinum hair stood beside him. The centaur pulled Harri up. Are you okay? It's okay. Thank you. What was that just now? The centaur looked at Harri with his sapphire eyes, and finally his eyes stopped on the lightning-shaped scar on Harri's forehead. You are the boy from the Potter family, he said. You'd better get back to Hagrid as soon as possible. The forest is not safe at this time, especially for you. My name is Firenze, Firenze said. The thing that just escaped is the culprit who has been hurting unicorns for so many days. I don't understand why that thing wants to hurt unicorns. Unicorn blood can prolong people's lives, Firenze said. If you drink unicorn blood, you must pay a heavy price. Your life will be cursed, and you will become half dead for the rest of your life. Harri looked at Firenze, which flashed silver spots in the moonlight. But who is the desperado? He expressed his doubts. If you're cursed for the rest of your life, you might as well die, right? Yes, Firenze agreed. Unless you just use it to prolong your life so that you can drink another thing, a thing that fully restores your energy and magic, a thing that makes you immortal. Mr. Potter, do you know what is hidden in the school at the moment? The Philosopher's Stone. Of course, the elixir of life. But I don't understand who dash. Can't you imagine someone who's been waiting all these years, longing to make a comeback? Someone who is clinging to life, waiting for the right time. For a moment, it was as if an iron claw suddenly grabbed Harry's heart. Are you saying, Harri said in a low and hoarse voice, that it was Voldemort dash? Firenze nodded. Harri asked, what's the matter with the silver doe? It's a Patronus summoned by a very advanced magic, Firenze said. It's what led me here. Who summoned the Patronus? Firenze shook his head. I don't know. I thought you centaurs could predict everything. What we can see is just a rough idea, Firenze said. He looked in the direction of Lin Xiu in the dark. Is that your companion, Potter? I have to say, even from the perspective of a centaur, his explosive spell is very beautiful. He is destined to have extraordinary achievements in the future. Hagrid is coming with people. Let's wait for them here. Hagrid quickly led the little wizards to find the rescued Harri. Due to Harry's experience, this night patrol of the Forbidden Forest ended early, and Hagrid sent the little wizards back to Hogwarts Castle. Hermione waited for Lin Xiu to come back in the dark Gryffindor lounge and fell asleep on the sofa unknowingly. Lin Xiu woke her up. "Hermione, I'm back." Hermione woke up almost immediately, and after seeing Lin Xiu, she breathed a sigh of relief. "Great, you're safe and sound." But when she realized that Lin Xiu was too close to her and could even feel her breathing, she jumped off the sofa in a hurry. "It's too late. I'm going back to the dormitory to rest. See you tomorrow." After taking a look at Lin Xiu from a distance on the stairs, she hurried back to the girls' dormitory. Lin Xiu returned to the boys' dormitory. Harry turned back into a boy again. He walked around his bed excitedly, telling Ron what happened after he separated from the main group. The mysterious man in the Forbidden Forest is Voldemort. He wants to get the Philosopher's Stone, and it must be to prolong his life. "Don't say that name anymore," Ron whispered in panic, as if he was worried that Voldemort would hear it. Harry quickly changed the subject. "That silver doe the centaur Forenza said it was a Patronus summoned by a very advanced magic. I can feel the kindness in that Patronus," Harry said. "I think that means someone is protecting me in secret." He was a little excited now. Does this mean that he still has relatives alive? Ron made his own guess. "Harry, could it be a relative you haven't met?" Since you said your aunt's family treats you badly, could it be a relative on your father's side?" "It's possible. Although Hagrid told me that all my father's relatives died, I think some of them may still be alive." Harry's eyes lit up, and he proposed a somewhat crazy hypothesis. "Maybe the Silver Doe Patronus was summoned by my father or mother to protect me. Think about it. Since I was able to survive the disaster, maybe my parents could too. After all, I was just a baby who knew nothing at the time, and there were at least powerful wizards, right?" Lin Xiu was drinking water, and he almost choked when he heard Harry's crazy guess. In the current 0.8 magic world, there's only one person whose Patronus is a doe and who will take action for Harry. Severus Snape. How could Harry mistakenly think that it was his father James who took action to protect him? Of course, strictly speaking, it is understandable. Harry now does not understand the entanglement between his parents and Snape. But Lin Xiu just wanted to laugh when he thought of Snape's reaction. If Snape knew that Harry compared him to James Potter, wouldn't he be so angry? Oh no, if a girl like Harry said this, Snape would probably be secretly happy for several days. At the same time, in the headmaster's office, Snape was reporting to Dumbledore what happened tonight. "Severus, are you serious?" Dumbledore laughed happily. "You said that the spell used by Lin Xiu is effective on the nose, and he blew Quirrell's nose open? Doesn't that mean—" "I'm afraid so, Professor," Snape said slowly and methodically. "The Dark Lord on the back of Quirrell's head is probably also affected. The Dark Lord originally had no nose, and now even his nostrils are probably blown off." Chapter 55, Dumbledore's Confirmation. Horcrux traces in the principal's office. Dumbledore smiled happily and shook his head slightly. "Voldemort pursues immortality and wants to use Horcruxes to avoid death, but he has turned himself into a half-human and half-ghost. The Dark Lord's views on life and death are not as open-minded as yours." Snape changed the subject. "Professor, how long do you want Voldemort's soul to lurk in Hogwarts? I can understand your idea of letting Harry face the Dark Lord and gain experience. So many times, I didn't take too many actions," Snape said, "but it is obvious that the Dark Lord's soul in Quirrell will not act as we want. Tonight in the Forbidden Forest, the Dark Lord's soul even controlled Quirrell and wanted to use Avatar on Harry. The curse of fate. If I wasn't there, if Lin Xiu didn't use his wand to blow off Quirrell and the Dark Lord's remnant's nose, Harry would have been in danger. Lin Xiu is indeed a good kid. But Severus, you are wrong about one thing." Dumbledore said, "Harry will not be hurt by Voldemort." "I don't understand what you said," Dumbledore sighed. "On the night when Voldemort tried to kill Harry, Lily sacrificed herself to save Harry, which inadvertently left a very strong protection on Harry. I used an ancient magic and strengthened this protection with the help of Harry's blood bond. Before Harry comes of age, Voldemort can never hurt him. It turned out to be Lily." Snape was silent for a long time. "But Quirrell? Quirrell is possessed by Voldemort's remnant, which is Voldemort's Horcrux in a sense, and will also be restricted by that ancient protective magic. If Quirrell forcibly wants to attack Harri, he will only die in pain in the end. But I think what you said makes sense. It's time to drive Voldemort's soul out of Hogwarts. Dumbledore tapped the table lightly, and a letter floated on it. The content of the letter had several urgent written on it, and the name was the London Magic Companion. It seemed that the Ministry of Magic had encountered some trouble and wanted Dumbledore to go there urgently. Obviously, Quirrell and the Voldemort in him are more anxious than us, so they came up with this flawed plan to lure me out of Hogwarts. It's hard to refuse a kind offer, right? Dumbledore said easily. I'll leave early tomorrow morning. I think that after I leave Hogwarts, Quirrell and Voldemort's soul will take action immediately. I'll leave the rest to you. Snape nodded. I will protect Harri. Harri will not be in danger because of the protection of ancient magic. Dumbledore said, I hope you pay attention to the remnant of Voldemort and Quirrell. Try to delay the meeting between Harri and Quirrell, and I will arrive in time. I don't understand, Professor. Snape said, according to what you said, Quirrell will be eliminated by the protective magic on Harri anyway. Why not speed up the process? I need to be there in person to witness the moment when Quirrell and Voldemort are eliminated by the protective magic. Only then can I do something with the remnant of Voldemort. Dumbledore was as relaxed as if he was talking about what to eat tonight. I once learned something from an old friend, including magic that can work on residual souls. I want to use this to find more clues about Horcruxes from the memories of Voldemort's residual soul. In fact, I have found some. As soon as Dumbledore finished speaking, two items suddenly appeared on his desk. One is an exquisite pendant box, and the other is a golden cup with exquisite patterns carved on it. As soon as the two appeared, they exuded a cold breath. Snape's eyes changed slightly. You found a second Horcrux? Yes, Hufflepuff's cup. Dumbledore said, I found it in the Lestrange vault at Gringotts. I must say that girls' protection really made me lose my calendar hand. Snape said, the goblins at Gringotts would be honored to hear this. Dumbledore looked at the locket and cup on the table and shook his head. Slytherin's locket, Hufflepuff's cup. Voldemort is still the same as when he was in school, with a full sense of superiority, carefully selecting those items with powerful magic and historical significance to set off his own uniqueness. I wouldn't be surprised if I found out one day that Voldemort made the treasures of the four founders of Hogwarts into Horcruxes. Dumbledore finished speaking, and a ball of blue flame emerged in the air. The flame seemed to have life, and in an instant it turned into the appearance of a phoenix, and then suddenly swallowed Slytherin's locket and cup. Destroying the Horcruxes is indeed a troublesome matter, said Dumbledore. Fortunately, I learned a little trick to control fiend fire from an old friend. In almost 3 breaths, the blue fiend fire burned the 2 Horcruxes to ashes. Then, the blue fiend fire disappeared. Your method of controlling fiend fire is indeed very sophisticated, Snape said. But didn't you say before that you wanted to use the connection between souls to track the souls? Don't you need to leave them for the time being? No need. I have tried for a long time before, and this way doesn't work. I found the Hufflepuff Gold Cup by other means. Dumbledore said, what we need to pay attention to next is the residual soul of Voldemort in Quirrell. You go back and have a good rest first. The residual soul of Voldemort will soon control Quirrell to seize the Philosopher's Stone. Snape nodded and walked away. 5:37 Dumbledore sat alone at his desk, thinking about Voldemort and Horcruxes, and couldn't help but think of what Snape said, that Voldemort's remaining soul was blown in the nostrils by Lin Xiu's wand. Then, he thought of the incident not long ago when Quirrell was hit on the head with a snowball by Lin Xiu's group of Gryffindor wizards and was also blown in the back of the head, and couldn't help but feel a little funny. He smiled and shook his head. Lin Xiu's kid blew Voldemort's face with his wand twice in a row, and his future must be extraordinary. Early the next morning, Lin Xiu just woke up and noticed the system prompt, and his mood suddenly became very good. Ding. Voldemort Tom Riddle's anger detected. Ding. Harry Potter's shock detected. Ding. Centaur Firenze's surprise detected. Ding. Severus Snape's worry detected. Ding. Albus Dumbledore's relief detected. Drawing treasure chest for the host. Congratulations to the host. You got 2 silver treasure chests. Congratulations to the host. You got 3 gold treasure chests. Oh, almost all of them are high-quality treasure chests. Lin Xiu felt that his previous strategy adjustment was correct. It is to try to get emotional treasure chests from those wizards with names. System. Open all these treasure chests. Chapter 56. Open the treasure chest and break through the trapdoor at night. Ding! Silver treasure chest has been opened. Congratulations to the host for getting the 100-step shooting. Congratulations to the host for getting multilingual proficiency. Ding! Gold treasure chest has been opened. Congratulations to the host for getting the intermediate magic talent. Congratulations to the host for getting the shadowless flight spell. Congratulations to the host for getting the message about death. 100-step shooting. Centaurs do not use magic wands, but they're very good at archery, and the Centaur's Forenza is the best among them. After using it, all long-range physical attacks you cause within 200 meters of you, including but not limited to archery, shooting, throwing, etc., will definitely hit the target in a reasonable way. Lin Xiu was a little disappointed. He thought that the emotional treasure chest dropped by the Centaur's Forenza could open talents related to divination or prophecy, but it turned out to be a talent related to shooting. Lin Xiu could only comfort himself that it was better to have something than nothing. Maybe one day in the future, his talent for throwing will come in handy. Multilingual proficiency. Dumbledore can speak multiple languages, including mermaid and fairy. During the Triwizard Tournament of the Goblet of Fire, Dumbledore used mermaid to talk to the mermaid leader in the Great Lake to communicate about the subsequent project matters. After using it, you will have extraordinary language talent. You will master mermaid and fairy. When you encounter a language you don't understand, you can quickly learn the language in a very short time. Unfortunately, Dumbledore's emotional treasure chest didn't open anything related to magic, but Lin Xiu was not too disappointed. Mastering one more language will give you more ways in the world in the future. What's more, Dumbledore represents the pinnacle of the current magic world. The good things on him can only be opened from the gold or even higher level emotional treasure chest. Lin Xiu adjusted his emotions and looked at the remaining things opened from the gold emotional treasure chest. Intermediate magic talent. Harry Potter's parents are both very powerful wizards, and he inherited a good magic talent from them. This is an excellent talent. After using it, you will be able to cast spells faster and more powerful, and you will become an excellent wizard. Lin Xiu chose to use it. The whole world seemed to become more vivid in front of him in an instant, and he could even vaguely feel the flow of magic in his body in Harry Potter's magical world. There is no obvious judgment on the numerical strength of magic, but there is no doubt that the magic talents of different wizards are different. Dumbledore, a wizard who stands at the top of the magical world, has much better magic talents than most wizards. At this moment, Lin Xiu could clearly feel that he was more fishy than before. He reached for the wand on the bedside table next to him, wanting to release a less noisy lighting spell to test the changes in himself. Lumos fluorescent flashes. But before Lin Xiu's hand touched the wand, the tip of the wand on the bedside table lit up, and the light at the tip of the wand was long-lasting and bright. Harry and Ron, who were sleeping, woke up immediately. They rubbed their sleepy eyes and looked out the window. Is the sun out? And Lin Xiu stopped his lighting spell long before the two opened their eyes, and the dormitory returned to its previous brightness level. The morning light outside the window was dim, and Harry and Ron could only mutter "damn it," and then went back to sleep. And the culprit, Lin Xiu, was satisfied to feel the magic power surge in his body. Becoming stronger, it feels good. Invisible flight spell. For most wizards, if they want to fly, they either use various magical vehicles, including flying brooms, or use magical animals with flying abilities, or have their own flying animagus form. Unlike most wizards, Snape can fly in the air. In 1998, he used this ability to fly away from Hogwarts after a duel with Minerva McGonagall. After using it, you will learn the invisible flight spell, which allows you to turn into wind and fly at high speeds, and you'll not make much noise when flying. It is worthy of Professor Snape's golden lover. Emotional treasure chest. Lin Xiu had never understood it before. Why almost all wizards in the magic world cannot rely on their own spells to fly, but must rely on magic props, such as flying brooms. However, after he obtained this flying spell, he no longer had to worry about these problems. Finally, it was Message About Death that was opened from Voldemort's golden emotion treasure chest. Message about death. According to legend, the god of death controls life and death. Once there were 3 brothers who defeated the god of death and received a gift from the god of death. The second brother received the resurrection stone from the god of death and returned home. After returning home, he turned the resurrection stone 3 times in his hand and resurrected his early deceased fiancée. But sadly, the resurrected fiancée, he was sad and indifferent, and there seemed to be a veil between them. The veil of death. In the end, the second brother was tortured by hopeless desire and went crazy and committed suicide in order to be with her. Voldemort Tom Riddle showed fear.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.